Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, January 19th, 2013. This is episode 945. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Gazelle. Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell last year's gadgets. Find out what your used iPad, MacBook, iPhone, Galaxy S, or other smartphones are worth at Gazelle.com. And by Ring Central. I love my cloud-based phone system from Ring Central. Zero startup costs, and Ring Central is just $20 per month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial. When you buy one desk phone, you'll get a second phone free up to 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use our promo code TWIT. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater, and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, that's my phone number if you want to call with a question, a comment, a suggestion. You want to answer a question from last week, pose a question for next week, talk about the future of technology. It's all game, as long as it's got a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. A toll-free number in the U.S., but outside the U.S., you can also call. Just use Skype out or a similar technology, and you can reach me. Our website is techguylabs.com. Speaking of com.com, kim.com, what a strange story that is. I don't even know where to begin. The feds went after him big for megaupload.com. Do you remember megaupload.com? They said, oh, it's a haven for piracy. He was living in New Zealand at the time they arrested him, and they've tried to extradite him for trial. You know, part of the thing that's a problem for Kim.com is he's flashy. He has cars with interesting license plates, like gangster. But on the other hand, you got to admire the guy because he today has launched a brand new site to replace Mega Upload called Mega. It's a file sharing and storage site with encryption. And so far, over 100,000 signups today alone. You know, what a lot of people said when the feds not only arrested Kim.com, but took down the mega servers was, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, maybe there was some piracy on there, but there's also legitimate stuff, including all of my work stuff that's been stored there and is now gone. What if they did the same thing to Dropcom? Dropbox. Do you use Dropbox? Similar program? What if they said, and they could probably legitimately say it, hey, this is a haven for piracy, and took it down and took the servers and took everything off the air? How would you feel about that? Well, apparently, a lot of people, that's how they used Mega Upload. Remember, just before he was arrested, they made a song on YouTube praising megaupload.com, and it featured all these musicians, these artists, people who presumably would have been hurt by the so-called or alleged piracy on the site. And the funniest thing is, the record labels for those artists demanded a takedown of the video, saying, well, we own those artists. You can't, just because they did it doesn't mean you can post it. They're calling, this is smart of Kim.com, not his real name, I imagine. They're calling it the privacy company. So that the idea being no one can see what you've put there. The folks at Torrent Freak, who are big fans of BitTorrent, another place where people often say, well, it's a haven for piracy, but in fact it's used in many legitimate ways. Got to try it yesterday. .com says it's an easy-to-use one-click privacy feature, turns encryption into a mass product. Now, see, I like encryption. I think encryption's great. I encouraged, for a long time, I tried to get people to encrypt email to me and so forth. But you might imagine the feds don't like it because they can't see into it. And so they say, well, it just promotes crime. I say it just promotes privacy. I don't want you to see into it. I'm not committing a crime. And the presumption that I might be seems a little bit overreaching. When the Supreme Court a few months ago told the FBI that it was illegal to put a GPS device on a bumper of somebody they were investigating, the FBI wasn't happy about it. But they just returned to other forms of warrantless tracking. Illegal without a warrant, I should say. You know, you could do it, but you have to get a warrant. The FBI said, no, no, no. You don't need a warrant for that. You could just, it's not, you know, it's in his driveway. We don't have to go into his property. Monday, they unanimously approved, Monday of last year, Supreme Court's first month, January of last year, so it's a year ago, unanimously restricted the rights of the police to use a GPS device to track criminal suspects unless they had a search warrant. So what did the police do? They turned to search warrantless ways to search you. Things like tower dumps. Did you know they can do this without a warrant? They can dump the data that a cell tower has about who's using that tower, whether they're criminals or not. All of us. They can do what's called a pen register, where they ask. And by the way, all the cell phone companies have portals for law enforcement. Costs $1.50. It's cheap. They go to the portal. They say, "Hey, where was Leo last night?" You don't need a warrant for that. They just, "Oh yeah, Leo was there last night. He was at home last night." So there's a reason for honest, law-abiding citizens to protect themselves against overreaching police searches, what we call fishing expeditions. It's always been in this country the notion that illegal search and seizure is unconstitutional, but that if there is probable cause that a crime's been committed, that law enforcement can go to a judge who provides oversight, looks at the probable cause, and then says, okay, you have the right to search this person. And there are some cases if the law enforcement, when you're driving, for instance, has reason to believe a crime is being committed, can go right in there. What they can't do is what's called a fishing expedition. They can't just download all our emails and look for crimes. That's been explicitly prohibited for years. And so now that they're doing that more and more, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, I'd like somewhere to put my stuff that can't be read, even if I'm not a criminal, that can't be read by law enforcement. I don't want them snooping my stuff, even though I'm not a criminal. That's why people are looking for encryption. I think encryption's a good thing. Of course, law enforcement doesn't like it, and you can see why. So Mega is back. Very interesting. Very interesting. I talked last week about the very sad suicide of Aaron Swartz, the death of an internet activist. His funeral was this week. His family said the federal prosecutors killed Aaron Swartz. I don't think they mean literally, but by pursuing this prosecution and trying to get this kid who really merely violated terms of service, that was his crime. He violated terms of service. They were threatening him with 35 years in jail, $4 million in fines. They offered apparently a plea bargain for 6 months in jail, but Swartz would not have done well there, and I think probably understandably refused the plea bargain. Now the Senate is asking the Attorney General to explain why the DOJ persecuted this kid. I'm glad to see that. Representative Zoe Lofgren has offered a bill in the Congress, in the House, that changes these so-called terms of service violations so they're not criminalized. If you violate the terms of service of a service, you shouldn't have to go to jail for 35 years, but it's currently criminalized as if it were a terrorist act. It's essentially an antiquated law. It's a 1986 anti-hacking law that really needs to be changed. So I encourage the members of the Congress to approve this Zoe Lofgren amendment to this law. All right, that's enough sad stuff. Let's talk about good stuff. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. No, it wasn't copyright infringement. They got him on wire fraud because he violated the terms of service of JSTOR. Yeah,
One thing I've learned is
you don't want the police to be
to do what I like to do,
enforcement arm of the copyright law. So here is, yes, this is my new. I did get a new Mac. You can't really see it because it's so thin it just disappears. It's just razor. I showed Abby. I said, "Look how razor thin that is," and she said, "Well, wait a minute, turn some more." Well, it's got a giant bulge behind it. Of course, it's it's not that thin. In fact, probably at the fattest point, it's probably not much thinner than the actual original, the predecessor.
It is lighter.
But she said, but where's the guts? I said, well, everything, the hard drives, the CPU, everything are in here. She said, oh, well, that's all right. I said, yeah, you got to put it somewhere. It is much lighter. And it's boy, is it blazingly fast. Now, it has this, Apple's got this 3 terabyte Fusion drive, and I'm at some point going to do a review of it. The idea of the Fusion drive is kind of interesting. There's a solid state drive in here, and there's a spinning drive in here. And the total is 3 terabytes. But what they're doing, which is I think very smart, is because, you know, traditionally you buy these solid state drives, they spin really fast. Their reads are remarkably fast, but they're very expensive. The price per gigabyte is fairly high, although it is dropping. So the idea of this is you move the stuff that you need to be able to read really fast to the solid state drive, but because you still have a giant multi-terabyte spinning drive, the cost isn't much higher. You know, you have I don't know what it is. It's 160. I think it's 160 gig SSD, and then a 3 terabyte regular drive. And so the spinning drive, you put the stuff you don't need all the time, and you put the stuff that gets accessed all the time on the solid state drive, and you get most of the benefit of solid state without the cost per gigabyte. So let me just show you. I'll run the speed test on this thing, and I'll do it with big files, 5 gigabyte files, and you'll see the write speed is very fast. But where you really want to see, and watch it fluctuates a little bit, but where you really want to see speed is read. Actually, it's gone down a little bit. It was higher than this. So I'll show you to compare. I'll show you what it looks. Let me get the my other speed test results, and you can see the difference. SSD benchmarks. So this is, for instance, the Otherworld computing disk on my MacBook Retina. 308 megabytes. Those are bytes, not bits. Megabytes per second write. 504 megabytes per second read. That's half a gigabyte a second read. That's pretty good. And then I have the Fusion drive when I first got it, so you can compare them. 308, 286. So much of the write speed, and then slightly less read speed, but still a lot of benefit. Now that's when I first got it, and in theory it should get better over time because the operating system is now watching what I'm doing and moving files to the appropriate drives. Files that are accessed frequently get moved to the solid state drive, or read frequently, and files that are read less frequently stay on the spinning drive. The OS is watching you wirelessly. So let me find that a non-tech review. I'd love to read that. When it first came out, we weren't sure what they were doing because Intel has a similar product, but it's on a much smaller SSD. And after a while, people just realized, no, Apple's done something special in the OS 10. Oh, yeah, a month with Apple's Fusion Drive. I'll have to read this. Anand is fantastic.
Use Mega Upload. Yeah, I like Mega Upload.
There it is.
I like Mega Upload.
I love Mega Upload.
I love Mega Upload.
I love Mega Upload because it moves fast, just like I like it.
MEGA.
That's the Mega Upload song that a lot of artists participated in, because they like the idea of their music being shared and available, but their record labels didn't like so much. Unbelievable. By the way, the Next Web, I think, did a study. MegaUpload.com was shut down in January for piracy. And the Munich School of Management in Germany and the Copenhagen Business School in Denmark did a study. Piracy and movie revenues, evidence from Mega Upload. The study analyzed data from 1,344 movies in 49 countries over a 5-year period. In all specifications, we find the shutdown had a negative, yet in some cases insignificant effect on box office revenues. Wait a minute. The shutdown had a negative effect. They made less money. Big blockbusters did gain. So it was the blockbusters that were probably pirated. It said, our counterintuitive finding may suggest support for the theoretical perspective of social network effects. So this is all academic, academies. But basically what they said is that the word of mouth of a piracy system helps the less well-known movies, and they actually do better because of the piracy, because more people know about the movie. Doesn't help blockbusters as much because, of course, they've got big publicity budgets and marketing budgets. I guess that makes sense. Average and smaller films lost money after the close of Mega, as they closed down the so-called piracy site, Mega Upload. Nobody denies that there was piracy going on. Nobody denies that. Maybe this is so I guess what I'm saying, Hollywood, is you should be celebrating the return of Mega. Even if it is a haven for pirates. That's good. If you don't have a marketing budget, just get your movie pirated more. It's good for you. I know, that's kind of counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense at all. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. I'm pulling up my call screening, but I have to get it working once again. It's not. So, Kyle, would you tell me who's our first Kyle? Caller Kyle. Who's our first Kyle caller? Do you know?
Sorry, it's down.
I'm sorry. Could you
We're
tell?
just going to line one.
Just go to line one. That did not work. We got to get Kyle a microphone. Your first caller, Leo. Hi, who is this? This is not working.
Hello.
Hello, this is Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Who are you?
Hi, my name's Richard. I'm from Venice.
Hi, Richard.
Here's my question. I know you guys are sponsored by Carbonite, but I want my personal Carbonite. I want my personal cloud residing in my closet here where, I can have my family's 5 or 10 computers, back up everything, and then we're either, we don't have to depend upon the general internet to connect. We can connect locally.
That's a great idea.
We can connect through the internet.
That's a great idea, but you understand that there's a little difference between that, and I'm not going to use Carbonite, but any cloud-based backup is that if your house burns down, so do your backups.
Well, let's assume that, I have...
So you do want...
I have a fireproof vault in my house, let's assume.
Okay. You do. I'm just underscoring the fact that this is a good idea, and I do it, and a lot of people do it, and I think you should do it, but it does not eliminate the need for off-site backups of some kind. Even my friend Steve Gibson mails DVDs to his mom. And he says, Mom, if just... He says, Mom, just put these somewhere. You don't have to worry about it. I won't be bugging you about them unless something really bad happens. But this is the stuff I cannot afford to lose. I do not want to lose. Now, what you're talking about, a centralized backup solution, is a great idea. A lot of people do it with something called network attached storage, or NAS. You might have seen that, NAS. What it is essentially a computer that's on the network. So it's network attached. focuses on lots of storage space because you're going to back up multiple systems, right?
Right.
And generally does not have its own keyboard, mouse, or monitor. Why spend money on that? You just you access it over the network from your browser. And some of these guys are big disk arrays. There's ones with 2 disks. My recommendation is to get one with 3 or more disks that is capable of supporting a technology called RAID 5. That makes this more robust in a couple of ways. First of all, multiple disks means lots more storage. Those multiple disks appear as a single central drive. And by the way, NASs are set up in such a way that they share that drive with every other computer on the system. So it looks like a local drive to all your other computers. It's even visible on your devices like tablets and phones, right? The reason you want to use RAID 5 is not only it makes it one big disk, but any individual disk in that array can fail, like literally just die. You don't even have to turn off the NAS in most cases. You just pop it out and put in a new one. It rebuilds itself and goes on as if nothing happened, and you lose no data. So it gives you some pretty good, peace of mind data protection, as well as massive storage. It's centralized. It's great for media files, obviously. You have one music library everybody can access, one photo store, all of that. So there are a number of different NAS solutions. I'll tell you a couple that I really like. There's one that's powerful, easy to use, relatively affordable. Now, understand, these aren't going to be cheap because you have to buy the enclosure and the drives in it. But I do think you want a NAS as opposed to just, you can buy routers. There are plenty of routers that have a USB port and you can plug a hard drive into it. Apple's Airport Extreme does that. Many others do. Then you have a single big hard drive that's central, but it doesn't have any of the advantages of a NAS. It doesn't have the software that allows it automatic backup. It doesn't have any redundancy or resilience. Not necessarily a bad thing. It is, after all, just your backup.
Yeah. Okay, so I partition this off, have multiple users with their own areas or shared areas and stuff?
You could, absolutely. Or you could have it be central. For instance, in the case of music, you really only want one library. You don't want multiple libraries. You have one library everybody has access to. But it's up to you. Yes, you can do that. One company I really like is Synology, SYNOLOGY.com. And they make everything from very inexpensive 2-drive products to large-scale, massive business products. I would look at one of their disk stations, which is their home products. And I have trying to remember which one I use. I think it's a DS411. That is I think that's a 4 or 5 drive solution. The other one I really like and also use is a little bit more serious. It's from Netgear. It's called ReadyNAS, and I really like these. Now, here's what's cool about these. These are running Linux, which means it gives them great networking capability. And because they're running Linux, they can also have stuff running in the background reliably. You don't have to manage it, maintain it, watch it. And one of the things the ReadyNAS has, I believe the Synology also, is a backup program that will actually go out and back up the disks. You don't have to have any software running on any of the other computers, just on the NAS. Most of them have media servers as well, Windows, iTunes, and others, so they can appear as if it's an iTunes media server, which is very handy. So this is a really, I think, a very good way to go. Highly recommend it. Network-attached storage, and even some of them even have the ability to share over the network to get cloud backup as well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, are you starting to see him now?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. ReadyNAS can do Plex. There's a Plex plugin, I think, for it. Scott Wilkinson coming up here. Oh, didn't have to say that. Speak of the devil.
Man.
There he is. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
Speak of the devil himself.
How are you, Scotty?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Feeling better?
Yeah, I am feeling better. I'm still hacking and hewing a bit.
Okay,
But,
next time, humidifier in the bedroom.
Yes,
In the hotel.
I should
And then
take one with me.
yeah, take one, because sometimes the hotels have them, but usually they don't have very many.
Right.
And then that keeps it humid in the room. And then I was bathing my mucous membranes in saline.
Oh, you know what? That's 2 or 3 times a day.
Yep.
Yeah,
every time I was in the room, I go.
Yep.
And
I must remember to do that next time. That's an excellent idea.
It really helped. I think I credit it with. Of course, I was only there 2 days. You were there 7, so or 6 or whatever. Hey, I just want to warn you.
Yes.
There's this thing called the Super Bowl. It's Sunday, February 3rd, and the San Francisco 49ers are 1 game away from being there.
Uh-oh.
And I've been informed by my partner that if the Niners beat the Falcons tomorrow, we're going to New Orleans.
Oh.
So I will be needing somebody to fill in for me February 3rd.
I shall be there.
So be prepared for the call. We'll know tomorrow.
Okay. I'll be watching that game.
Watch that game. If the Falcons lose, you win.
I win. All right. Now, since it's only 1 day, I might do it from Sherman Oaks.
You could. The reason we like you to come up here is
because then we have a podcast.
Then I can make video. Yeah.
Sure. And I'll fly up there for it. Sure.
We'll pay.
Absolutely.
We'll pay, of course, all expenses and all that.
Sure. Fantastic.
But I'll talk to Lisa. We'll see what that is. And Kyle, you should be made aware of that too. And I'll tell Trevor. But just watch the game tomorrow. And I think the Niners are favorites. I think the Falcons are going to lose. So, but you never know. Any given Sunday and all that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I'll be rooting for the Niners then. I'm not normally a football guy at all. I don't care. But
I didn't
case,
used to care all that much. Although they're the local team, so I was always into it. They haven't gone since Lisa was saying since '84, something like that. So it would be a big deal.
Were they in contention last year? I heard something.
Yeah, they were in the playoffs last year, and they lost in the second round. But no, this is good. This is good. We're excited.
Cool.
We're excited.
Well, I'll be rooting for them then.
Yeah, root for the Niners.
And when is that game? The playoff game?
It's tomorrow afternoon. I think it's at noon or 1.
All righty then.
Hey.
Lovely.
Bill in Michigan, you're right. The speed test is an interesting question mark on this. What it does is it has its own 5 gigabyte file, which it reads and writes, which it's still doing, by the way. Oh, that's interesting. You know what? Okay, I'll show you now. After being on for a while, it got better. So what happened is the Fusion drive said, "Boy, somebody's really reading and writing this file," and has moved it, and you can see it's gotten much better after being used for about 20 minutes. So that's exactly what you would want. You don't know where the files are exactly, Bill. So what you're looking at, but this is more what you want because you want to know what the overall. I'm not trying to test the SSD or the spinning drive. I'm trying to test the Fusion, right? So what you want to know is how the overall subsystem performs, and apparently, as you use it, quite well. Quite well. Here we go, Scotty.
You bet.
He's playing the Niners song.
Carbonite's your billboard, Leo.
Thank you. You realize, Kyle Benham, you're alienating most of the country by playing this song. The 49ers song. And we were talking because I was mentioning to Scott Wilkinson, our home entertainment guy, that if the 49ers win tomorrow, I may be heading to New Orleans for a football game in a couple of weeks. But we'll see. This portion of the Tech Guy Show brought to you by Carbonite.com. You got to back it up to get it back, so do it right with Carbonite. This is the best off-site backup. Use the offer code Leo. You can try it free. By the way, many, as we were talking last break, many network-attached storage devices do have, in fact, Carbonite support or support for other off-site backups. And that's really the ideal way to do it, which is you have a centralized backup, backs up all the data from all the computers in your home network, and then itself backs up the critical files to the cloud. So it's kind of it's a wonderful way to do it. If that's the way you want to go, I highly recommend it. You can't forget the fact that off-site backup is the only thing that's going to protect you in the worst-case scenario. We got the best-case scenario. Scott Wilkinson is here, our home theater expert. He writes a column at The Secrets of Home Theater and Hi-Fi. That's hometheaterhifi.com. And, of course, hosts our fabulous Home Theater Geeks podcast on the Twit network every Monday at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern on twit.tv. Hello, Scotty.
Hey, Leo.
You feeling a little better after your CES?
Oh, man. The CES crud.
People do not understand what a okay, look, it's not combat. it's not
it sometimes feels
but it
like
feels like it's as bad as anything can get in this world when you're a tech journalist.
Yeah.
You got to go cover thousands of products. There's 150,000 other journalists and people there, vying for space, and it's just crazy.
Yes.
And then
breathing the same air, breathing on you.
That's part of it. Las Vegas is the only city in the United States that has enough convention space to handle it. They barely, even they barely do have enough hotels.
Barely. I mean, the hotels are totally full.
Yeah, but it's also super dry there, and
especially this year. I mean, it was drier than usual and cold.
Yeah,
it was amazing, actually.
Yeah.
And you had some good suggestions that I didn't follow this year, and I will next year. Hydrate. Put a humidifier in your room.
Yeah. I do all that.
Saline solution.
It's funny because I always would lose my voice. We used to do shows there, a week of shows there, and by the day 3, I was talking like this.
Yeah, right.
They call it Vegas Throat. Singers experience it as well. But that's nothing to do with home theater or hi-fi.
No, it's true. And in fact, I've got a bunch of questions. I got a backlog of questions because I spent last week recovering from CES and the week before that at CES. So
great.
Let me answer a couple questions here. Todd Johnson is not sure about whether to get a 65-inch plasma or a 70 or 80-inch LED LCD, and he mentions that he's heard me talk about you should go big on screen, and it's true.
What's the biggest plasma? Is it 65?
65. Yeah. Well, you can get the Panasonic 102 or the Panasonic 152.
Wow.
But the 152-inch Panasonic plasma is a mere $500,000.
Yeah. So the price
basically
goes up dramatically past 65 inches.
And you have to build your house around it, basically. Right. The 102, I think, is in the $50,000-$60,000 range. So for most folks, 65 inches is what you're going to get.
So
now,
if you want to go bigger than 65, you're going to go with LCD, probably.
That's correct. Yeah. And mostly with Sharp. Sharp specializes in large screen TVs. They've got 60, 70, 80, and 90-inch TVs.
Wow. 90 inches. How much is a 90-inch Sharp LCD?
Oh, that's a very good question.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. Now, as you and I have often talked about, I generally recommend plasma if you can because the picture quality is better generally, and plasma doesn't have the limitations that LCDs have tried to overcome.
$8,000.
$8,000 for a 90-inch.
Yeah, list price is $10,000. But Amazon
is that Amazon?
Amazon actually list price is $11,000. Amazon has it for $799.99.
Yeah, and certainly this year's, or rather 2012 models will come down as the 2013s come out. So, if you wait a little while, you might get a good deal. But LCDs have inherent limitations. They have motion blur, which is try to get rid of that with frame interpolation and backlight flashing and all sorts of stuff. They've got poor black levels, which is try to address with LED backlighting and so on. You can't address the issue of off-axis viewing. As you go off-axis from looking dead center at an LCD, the picture starts to wonk out. The blacks get higher, the colors distort. So if you got a lot of people crowded around the TV for the Super Bowl, for example, the people off to the side are going to see a poorer picture. Now, the one thing LCDs do have that plasmas don't is brightness. So if you're in a very bright room, you're going to be watching during the day, the LED LCD, virtually all of them are LED backlit now, is going to be better because it's just got more raw light output. So if you can control your lighting, even if you can get a bigger screen with LCD, I still recommend plasma. You got a 65-inch.
I got the 65. It wasn't too horribly expensive. I think it was $2,500 or $3,000. I got the mid-range Panasonic, the Viera GT50, and I love it. And people come over and they say, your TV is gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
really,
now I'm not sitting more than, say, 10 feet away from it, but
no, and that's about exactly the right distance to sit from a 65-inch.
What's the viewing angle you want? Is it 30, 45 degrees? What is the ideal?
Oh, you mean in terms of the angle?
Well, that's how you would determine how big the screen is. You're making a triangle,
relative to your
right?
seating distance.
Yeah,
correct. You're making a triangle.
Yeah,
and you want the angle at your head to be roughly about 30 degrees.
30 degrees, okay.
30 for high definition, for 1080p.
I remember you go to a movie theater, it might be 45 degrees or more.
It might be. It's a little bit higher resolution at a movie, not much.
Yeah.
It's 2048 across instead of 1920.
Oh,
so it's a couple hundred pixels. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah.
With 4K, this new Ultra HD that we saw all over CES, you could in fact get a wider field of view.
The point being that you are not even trying to create a home theater. You're not trying to make it feel like you're at a movie theater. You're still only going for 30 degrees, but that needs a much bigger screen than you might think.
Most people have a smaller screen for their seating distance than they expect, and in the most part, people buy a TV and they say, "Oh, this will be plenty big enough," and they get it home and they go, "Oh, really? It's not that. It's not big enough."
Funny, isn't it? Because we're in the CRT days, a 32-inch TV was huge.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, it also weighed 500 pounds.
Because it was 42 inches deep.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now they're nice and thin, but yeah, okay, good answer. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, get
another
the
quick question. Dave asks about he got a great deal on the Andrew Jones speakers from Pioneer, last year's models.
We
and
talked about those, yeah, and they were very inexpensive.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
very inexpensive. And he wonders about the right receiver, and he's got space considerations, and he wonders about the Marantz NR 1403, which is a 5.1, very small form factor, almost no inputs except HDMI. Marantz is going the way, I think, of the future, which is most devices these days are HDMI, so you don't really need those legacy inputs, many of them anyway, on the receiver. Now, the receiver is rated at 50 watts per channel, 2 channels driven. Now, the Andrew Jones speakers are rated to be able to handle up to 130 watts, so the Marantz doesn't quite have the oomph. Still in all, I don't think that's a problem, and the reason is most of the time, you're only using the first few watts of power of a power amplifier in a receiver or whatever to generate a perfectly reasonable volume level. Unless you're a real headbanger and you want super high volumes, that's going to be totally fine. You could get a higher powered receiver. Marantz also makes a 1603, which is, interestingly, 7.1 channels, but the same power output. So it's 50 watts per channel times 7 instead of the 1403, which is 50 watts times 5. That's the only difference, really.
Scott Wilkinson, home theater geek, twit.tv/HTG. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
I'm going to let you keep talking.
You bet. My pleasure.
Because this is the bonus. This is your bonus round, ladies and gentlemen.
Your bonus round.
More Scott Wilkinson while Leah wanders away.
Let's see here. Trey says that he got those too. I assume you mean the Pioneer speakers. Yeah, they're an awesome value. Really, truly amazing. Where's my cursor? There's my cursor. I want to scroll down here a little bit. James VA3JPX does point out something that I was going to point out but ran out of time, which is that you do risk underdriving your speakers. I don't think that's really much of a problem. Because, as I said, you typically only use the first few watts. If you get a lot of spikes or peaks or transients, then you can reach that 50-watt mark on the receiver's power amp and risk some distortion. That's true. The Pioneer speakers, I'm pretty sure, are 8 ohm, and the Marantz receiver is rated at 8 ohm. So, that's not going to be a problem, I don't think, underpowering in this case. Theater Monkey asks, what did I think of the curved screen? I think you mean the OLED curved screen. To tell you the truth, I didn't talk much about it on my show coverage or anything. I don't think it's that great. It's great. It's really great for one person. So if you're one person and you're sitting right in the middle of that curve and you're sitting pretty close, then yes, you get that nice immersive experience. It's wonderful. But home theater is not really the same as audiophilia. Now, audiophiles, people who have 2-channel audio reproduction systems, turntables, 2 big speakers, spending lots of money, they tend to be people who sit by themselves in a room right between the 2 speakers and listen to music. And that's fine. But it is more of a solitary activity than home theater. Home theater tends to be more of a group activity. You have your wife or your husband, your partner, your kids. They're all sitting around watching a movie, or your friends come over. That tends to be more of a group experience. And so the curved screen is definitely not what you want for that. So that's what I think of those curved screens. It was really more of a demonstration to show that you could do it. It's like, why climb the mountain? Because it's there. Why curve the screen? Because you can. Sharp was showing actual flexible OLED. They had it behind glass, of course, but they were, they had a little mechanical thing that was bending it back and forth while it was showing an image. So that was kind of interesting. Knox Harrington says, audiophiles are people who sit around and listen to systems to try and find out what's wrong with them. To some degree, and in some cases that's true. I know plenty of audiophiles, though, who really like to listen to music. And once they get the system to a certain level, they sit and they listen to music. Let's see here. Web 6453, how does text look on 4K TVs? Could they double as monitors, and how hot do they run? Well, this is actually a great point. It's one reason why I think 4K is actually valuable. If you use your TV to surf the web and get information, textual information, 4K TVs look great. They look great with video too, but there is an argument that if you're sitting far enough away from a screen of a given size, your eye can't detect the difference between 1080p and 4K. And theoretically, that's correct. I still tend to see a bit of difference myself. The picture just tends to look more fluid, more natural.
Here we go.
But here we go.
Thank you, Scotty.
My pleasure.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
Carbonite your library, Leo.
Thank you. Hey, our show today brought to you by our good friends at Gazelle. I got to tell you, if you've been looking, eyeing new gadgets, Gazelle is a lifesaver, a boon, a godsend, if I may. Gazelle's where you can send your old gadgets and get new gadgets. I just got a tweet from somebody about Gazelle. I don't have it right in front of me. Let me see if I can find it. He said he got, $268 for his phone. He said, great customer service. These guys are fantastic. He was just really happy. If you go to Gazelle.com, you can find out more right now. This is what they're buying right now. iPhones, cell phones from a variety of manufacturers, including BlackBerry, HTC, LG, Motorola, Nokia, and Samsung. All models of iPad. So, for instance, let's say you want, in fact, I'm thinking of doing this. I have a 3rd generation iPad, and of course, Apple came out with a new one 7 months later. So let me see what I would get for this. This is, let me look at this. I think it's AT&T, and it is I'm sure I got 64 gigs. Let's see what oh, wow. Actually, it's in flawless condition. $400. I'm almost all the way towards my brand new iPad. Look at that. Now here, this is actually, I'm kind of happy. This is good news. This means I can get that. I really want to get that. It's LTE. Maybe it's, yeah, no, this is it. Oh, no, it's Verizon. All right. Well, I'll go back and look at Verizon. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put that aside. I got 30 days to take advantage of this offer, by the way. It's locked in for 30 days. And then look for some other stuff. Old phones. I got a Samsung Galaxy S2 that's just lying around. I don't use that. I'll throw that. And they send you a box with they prepay the postage on everything. They'll pay the postage on anything worth more than $1. You throw it in the box. They send you cash, or they can PayPal you if you want to get it right away. Or you can get, and I think this is good if you're not in a hurry or you use Amazon a lot, get the Amazon gift card because they give you an extra 5% if you take an Amazon gift card. I guess they rebate their affiliate fee or whatever. Gazelle is such a great deal. I want you to go to GAZELLE.com. trade in your old gadget, get some cash. You could even buy a new gadget. I can't believe I get $400 for this iPad. I've been suffering along with it because it's not as fast. The Retina really slowed it down a lot. This is the first generation Retina. $400. Gazelle.
Electrons are free. A fourth state of matter, not gas, not liquid, not solid.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kyle Benham, our musical director, is very good at finding the strangest tunes. You can get his playlist at the end of the show on our website, techguylabs.com, or on his Google Plus account. He's one of the last few people still using that. It's Kyle Space Benham. Actually, Google Plus I think has some legs to it now that they have the communities feature, and I just think as Google continues to add features, it gets more and more interesting. So maybe there's something there. Back to the phones we go, and Jason is on the line from Orange, California. Hi, Jason. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
How you doing, Leo? Congratulations on your new studio. I have two questions for you. One is a simple one. I'll put that at the end. The first one is a little bit more complicated. I have a MacBook Pro. It's last year's model. It's got the 512 SSD drive, and I went out and bought an external hard drive. And after this phone call, I will definitely be signing up for Carbonite.
Good, man. Thank you.
But this 512 external drive is encased in an Ocean Digital casing that allows me to connect to my MacBook Pro via USB 3. So it's extremely fast, which is what I really like. I was able to back up the whole hard drive of 200 gigabytes in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, isn't that nice? I do the same thing. Thank goodness for USB 3. I really like it. Yeah.
It's been a jewel for me, but unfortunately, about a week ago, the drive no longer mounts on the desktop. So I ran disk utility, and it doesn't show up, but it does through the system profile aspect of the MacBook Pro. It recognizes that there's an Ocean Digital there, but it has virtually no recognition. It doesn't show up, but it does get power through the USB 3, and that's where I'm at.
Well, it could be. I mean, it could be the drive failed. It's seeing the enclosure. It's not seeing the drive.
Correct.
The profile. So that only means that the USB interface is working, and we're able to talk to the enclosure. But there could be something wrong with the drive, or something wrong with the enclosure talking to the drive. Kind of hard to know, and I can't tell from a distance. You've tried it, I take it, on other machines?
I did. I plugged it into my wife's MacBook Pro, and the same scenario.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
I would open up the enclosure and make sure everything's seated properly.
Okay.
Did it have a screw to hold the solid state in the enclosure?
It does. It has. Okay. Actually, it has 4 of them. So I was wondering.
So it's unlikely to have worked loose.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm doing the same thing. I replaced the solid-state drive in my MacBook Pro Retina with a larger one from Otherworld Computing, and then they sent me, this is back when I bought it like 6 months ago, you got a free enclosure for your old SSD. So I took the SSD out of the MacBook, put it into enclosure, giving me an external SSD. So it's really nice, really fast, USB 3 again. So I understand why you'd want to do that. But it's impossible for me to tell why it's failed.
Yeah, is there maybe a software program or something that can?
No, disk utility is the best. If disk utility doesn't see the hardware, it must see the hardware, right? It just doesn't see the drive.
Actually, it doesn't even see the hardware.
Doesn't even see the hardware.
But the system profiler does.
Yeah, that's really just seeing the USB interface is what that's seeing.
Correct. Yeah, but it does say Ocean Digital in the system profiler.
Yeah, that's the USB. Yeah, so yeah, its own USB interface over to the Ocean it's seeing, but it's not seeing a drive inside, and that's why disk utility is not seeing it. I don't, there may be some low-level bash commands you can use in the command line that would give you maybe some more information, but I don't know what they would be. My sense is the drive is not responding for whatever reason. That's why I'd open it up, make sure it's properly connected. if it's under warranty, you know, time to replace it. These things do die. You know, a dead disc. That's exactly how it would look. I'm sorry to say. I don't have any other insight into it.
Can I throw out my second question?
Sure.
How can I get a copy of that incredible techno theme song that you guys have? I've looked everywhere where I could get a copy of that. Speaking of pirating music, like you mentioned earlier.
It wouldn't be pirating. I'd be glad. You mean the show open?
Yeah, you know, the theme song that you use, and you come back from the break at the top of the hour.
Yeah. That was written by the incredible Ashley Witt, who is a Hollywood composer, does a bunch of amazing music. She's worked for, you know, with Danny Elfman and worked for Tim Burton and done some amazing stuff. And he composed that for us. And then it was remixed. We had a little competition a few years ago where it was remixed, which I loved. And there's no reason why we shouldn't make it available. I'm just checking to see, is it on the wiki chat room? Apparently there is a YouTube video. That's not ideal, but we certainly do put all the shows up as a YouTube video. I'll tell you what. I will put a high-quality copy, an MP3 or a WAV, probably let's do a WAV file, on the wiki. So we have a wiki for the network. It's wiki.twit.tv. And this is community maintained, and there's a ton of stuff in there, including show notes for other shows, information about our studios and so forth. We have there a wallpaper link, and I think we should have a theme song link. If we don't, I will make one, and I'll put some of those themes. I think that's thank you. I'm glad you like it enough to hear it.
I think it's great. I do radio a lot. I'm on a program. Actually, I'm on a network called Radio Nueva Vida.
Oh, that's neat.
They're all throughout the Western United States. They're affiliated with Salem Communications, but in Spanish. And so, you know, hey, kudos to the person who composed it. And
Ashley Witt.
It's very catchy.
That's neat. Well, I will keep your eye peeled on the wiki, and we'll also put it on the show notes. I just have to find a copy. I might have to get you, Kyle, to mail it to me because I don't know if I've saved it. I'm sure it's somewhere on some hard drive. That's the problem with hard drives. When you get after you get a lot of them, you know, it's hard to find anything. There's software that does that. You know, indexes everything. And if I had just been using that all along, I'd be able to find everything, but I haven't. So now I just have to search through things. And again, it is on YouTube. A couple of people on the chat room, or Brian in Rhode Island's posted on YouTube, but that's not going to be the highest quality. I want to give you the original WAV file.
I'll mega upload it to you.
Would you put it on mega upload? Thank you, Kyle. Then everybody could pirate it. Hang on, Lisa. We'll try to save your Toshiba when we continue. You're listening to Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 250,000 user registrations now for Kim.com's new Mega. Oh, I got the video. Here you go, Cassandra. Here's your thumb drive. Cassandra, who's visiting us from Manhattan.
I made a resolution this new year.
Has a video, I've got to watch this, of her appearance on the Screensavers? No, it was on TechTV. You were on, oh, you were a guest? No, I was on the phone. You were on the phone, calling. But was it, well, let's watch. I don't know. Let's go to the tape. This is 9 years ago. 10 years ago. Oh, yeah, call for help. Sure. There's Kat Swartz. Hey, Kat. A young Leo Laporte.
Who's on the line?
All right, Leo. On the phone is Cassandra from Queens, New York.
Hello, Cassandra.
Hi, Leo.
Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How is the snow?
Deep.
Yeah. Do you have 1.5 feet?
Yeah, about that.
Oh, my God.
And in New York, when you get a lot of snow, does everything just shut down, or do people manage to continue on?
We tend to continue on. You leave your car at home. You take public transportation. Right. You leave a little earlier.
Right. It is kind of neat when it first falls because everything's suddenly quiet.
Yeah, everybody's a little shocked, I guess, because it snowed.
Yeah.
Even though they were expecting it.
It happens every year. What can I do for you, Cassandra?
Well, I'm trying to buy an all-in-one printer.
Okay.
That has a USB
They've gotten much better.
B port.
Yeah.
And I currently have a network router.
Okay.
That is parallel port.
And you want to share the printer over the network?
Yes.
Okay. You should get one with a parallel port.
The printer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason
Because
is,
that's going to be so useful in a couple of
these
years.
Connectors that ostensibly go from the parallel port on your router to the USB port on your printer, but this isn't going to do. It's not going to talk to it. The problem is USB is.
What'd you end up doing?
Is not a peer-to-peer connection. It needs a computer on one end.
You got a USB
So this is designed
printer.
to plug into
that's
a
the best way to do it.
PC.
I actually gave you the wrong answer because
has a
you wanted
USB port, and
you
then
wanted a
use an
USB printer,
It will
but you had a
not
parallel
work with
port
a
computer.
router.
Is that right? Yeah.
The router is
I don't
not
know
a
what I'm
computer.
telling. Oh, I told you to
mean,
get a
kind of
parallel
is,
port
but doesn't have
printer.
enough smarts.
Yeah, that would have been useless.
So, and anyway, this is the wrong direction. And
Did you
all of them are
get an
like,
adapter? How'd you do
This is
it?
the computer end, and this is the printer end. What you really want is either a router with a USB port.
Yeah, that's the best way to
or
do
since
it.
you
And then
already
USB
own the
router.
Get a
because the
all-in-one
router
with
was
a
really
printer
obsolete.
port.
Yeah, the router
And-
was
or
obsolete.
you can get an all-in-one, and this is more likely
That
going
was,
to
and
solve
even
your
in
problem with a
2003,
network
parallel
port.
was
Have you
already
bought
going
the
out.
printer?
No, not yet.
Okay, good. Look for one with a network port, too, because then you don't even need to connect it to the printer port on the router. You just connect it to the network port, and it's a network
good
printer.
advice.
Okay, I was thinking of that too because I did have an available port on the router.
That's a good way to go. Now, I should tell you that these all-in-one scanner, fax, printer combinations, sometimes not all the functions work over a network. Sometimes it needs to be hooked up to a computer. For instance, often for the fax, incoming and outgoing faxes, it uses the computer's fax modem. So you should just look and make sure that all the functionality is available if you use it as a networked printer.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll have to hook it up to one of your PCs and share it that way.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because scanning, sometimes over the network is a little tricky, and faxing over the network sometimes is a little tricky. So you want they do make them. I mean, but they're maybe a little more expensive.
Wish I still had
'cause
that
they're more
watch.
business-oriented than consumer-oriented.
I missed that watch.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for the call. I hope you stay warm.
I will.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
See you, Cassandra.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's, just because you can connect the connectors doesn't mean it's going to work. And USB is really tricky because USB is not smart capability. It needs a computer on one end of those two
The word
USBs.
computers
You
are
have to
probably
have a
end up being a
computer. You
preacher.
can't connect two USB devices and expect them to talk. That you can with FireWire. FireWire is a peer-to-peer
God
network,
said the
not
printer and the router should be connected. And they were. That's cool. And you're the founder of the DGTL network. Is that right? No? Oh, somebody's talking about somebody else. I thought they were talking about you. Ah, the good old days of TechTV. So, yeah, somebody, Kat, I don't know what Kat is up. I saw Kat a couple of years ago. She was doing a lot of TV. She's had kids. She's married to a guy who works on South Park. I think he's an animator on South Park. She's very happy. And for a while, she was doing like the tech mom kind of thing. Yeah, so I guess Kevin Rose uploaded a full high-quality version of the screensavers to YouTube. I wonder how long... He's being such a bad boy. I wonder how long that'll stay up.
This is Premier Channel 7. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, will begin at 6 minutes.
Is it on his channel?
Radio Networks.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
The
there's Sarah. I gotta go
petrol car
back.
in the world tops out at 111 miles per hour. Plus, Kevin Rose on the bastions of extreme
remember this.
hacking. And my download of the day will tweak your system to hack and back. Live from the TechTV studios in San
Look
Francisco,
at Sarah.
it's the Screensavers.
She looks exactly the same. Jessica Sarah again. That's Ken Marcus, our producer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Screensavers. Humming man Leo Laporte to your right, to my left. I'm Patrick Norton.
And you're on the left. And welcome to the show. This is the show where we take you on a marvelous journey through the fascinating world of technology. Man. And we promise not to drive too fast, so we don't want anybody to erp up. But we do have an action-packed show for you today.
We are going to be hanging from the rafters.
Literally. Wait till you see that. Yeah.
If that's not enough, we're going to be tackling your toughest computer question.
And the world's fastest remote control car is here. Guinness Book of World Record holder. But first, let's see what's going on in the Nookie. A Nook It's Sarah Lane.
Yes, no Nookie today. I actually have Craig with me. He's from Call for
Craig
Help,
Bowers.
a familiar face. So it's a little weird, it's a little new, but I think we're going to get along fine.
Yeah. Craig's great.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of vibe over
He
here.
works a lot harder than the foo.
Yeah. Foo's resting right now. A big weekend.
He's got the flu.
He's got the flu.
Foo turned 21. You know how that works.
Did he really? Oh, no wonder.
For the third time.
He's not 21.
Craig, he looks like he's 21. Craig, who is far from 21.
Yeah.
How do people call us?
Hey, just give us a call. You know the number, 888-989-7879. It'll be great. I'll talk to you. We'll have some fun.
You know, we never give him lines on Call for Help.
No, they don't talk to me much.
It's kind of nice to have you speak up.
Say something smart.
The length of a hypotenuse is equal to the length of the hypotenuse squared equal to the length of the two lines squared of a triangle.
And he won't be saying anything on this show either ever again, I can tell you that.
Thanks, Craig.
You guys learned a lesson.
He's the quiz master on Call for Help and comes up with some very hard questions for the Wired World Challenge.
Love those quizzes.
Let's start with the tech news and a big story today. Isn't this great?
This is ridiculous.
Yes.
IDG News Service reports that, well, Commodore 64, the operating system of our youthful dreams, may soon be back on store shelves.
They're bringing back the C64!
You know, they could probably fit it on a thumbnail computer at
Chopper
this point.
Command.
Tulip Computers, the company that owns the Commodore brand name, has announced plans to relaunch the popular computer.
There it is.
Well, there you go. Just the same as it ever was. No takedown yet. Kevin doesn't know how to spell repelling. Somebody commented, yes, I'm 14 again and life is good. And I'm an old man now and life is good too. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, the computer show. Well, you know, it's funny because I've been doing this show. Can you believe this? We celebrated I forgot to mention anything, but on January 4th, we celebrated 9 years doing the Tech Guy show. But what I don't ever mention is that I was doing a very similar show, and I have been doing a very similar show since 1991. So 22 years. And when I first started, it was a computer talk show, right? It was, my Windows 3.1 keeps rebooting or won't shut down. That was a very common one. My Windows 3.1 won't shut down. What do I do? Or it was DOS 5, I think. And when I first started doing this, we didn't talk about the internet. The internet existed, but only in universities. No mere mortal was able to use it. So here we are, all this time later. And I think I'm going to still answer a question about Windows not shutting down. I don't know. Let's see. Lisa's on the line from San Juan Capistrano. Hi, Lisa. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Yeah, this is new to me. But the computer itself is probably 4 years old now. And I haven't used it in a year and a half on the internet. So I set up the internet, ran my virus program.
Good.
And nothing came up except something on the C drive about a file signed with a broken digital signal, but it didn't say it was a virus or anything. And so I went to shut the computer down, and it just came right back up, to put it on shutdown.
This is the same question I've been taking for 20 years with Windows. It just started right back up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Windows Vista is what's on here. All premium. Toshiba laptop.
I don't know why it's starting up again. It could be a mechanical failure, like the on button is like somehow shorted out, and so it's always turning itself on again.
Well, that could be too, but I found a way around it.
Is it a laptop or a desktop?
It's a laptop.
It's a laptop. Okay.
And I found a way around it. If I put it on hibernate, at least I can.
Sure, that's because you're not shutting it down. You're just putting it to bed with a cup of warm cocoa. But shutting it down, so you go to the start menu, you select shutdown, Right, and it shuts, and how far does it go before it starts? Does it look like it's shutting itself all the way down and turning itself back on?
Yeah. Right away, it turns itself back on.
If it were a stuck start button, which is what I thought it was, on/off switch, then the hibernate would not work. It would wake up out of that as well.
I see. Okay.
It's interesting that hibernate works, but shutdown does not.
Right.
Wow, that's very strange. The truth is, hibernate is basically shut down. Because what it's doing is it writes out the contents of memory to the drive, and then shuts down. So hibernate is, I believe, a completely powered down state. And then when it turns on, it reloads memory so that you get back to where you were.
Yeah.
You're not using the restart button to shut down. You're using the shutdown button, right?
Right.
I know what you might have going for you. I wonder. You might look in BIOS and check to make sure you don't have Wake on LAN turned on.
BIOS? Where is it?
Yeah, well, that's the startup. When you first turn on a machine, it says press delete or escape, sometimes F10 or F2 to enter setup. That we call that, we old timers call that BIOS. It's just the BIOS setup. And in there, these are the very fundamental settings for the hardware. There is a setting called Wake on LAN that will say, hey, if there's any activity on the network, wake up because it might be for you. You probably don't want to have that turned on. You might want to make sure you don't have anything turned on that says wake up in any case. I'm really looking at all the different. By the way, shutting it down isn't, it's not the end of the world that you can't shut it down. I never shut any computers down.
Okay.
And the reason is that almost all modern computers, even a 3-year-old Toshiba laptop, when they sleep, they go into such a low power mode. They're not using much power at all.
Yeah, I feel it. It's not warm.
Yeah, it's not. It's just trickling it. Admittedly, it's using some, and if everybody in the country did this, it would be bad. But you can do it. We'll allow anybody. I'll give a free pass to anybody who can't shut down. You can just let it not shut down. It does reboot, right? So if you do restart, it looks like it's shutting down and starting up again.
Yeah, first there's a little line at the bottom that looks like it's in DOS, and it says Windows is resuming.
Right.
And then
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
There's something odd, but it's not the end of the world.
Right. It'll last a year more.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole bunch of things I would try if I were, if I came over to the house, you bake some cookies, we watched the game, and I'd mess with the computer for a little while. There's a bunch of things I would try. I'd reboot it in safe mode, see if there's anything odd there. Like if I could shut down from safe mode, but not from normal mode, then there's something running that is somehow triggering the thing to turn back on. In other words, it needs to reboot, not shut down. But none of these really are anything too worrisome. You can hibernate, which is good if you're going away for a while. Hibernate. And if you're going to use a computer every day, don't bother with shutting it down at all.
Oh, okay.
And as I said, if you feel ambitious, go into the BIOS setup and check the Wake on LAN setting, things like that. None of this is that important, I don't think.
And it doesn't use any more electricity. But
it does. It uses a few watts. It uses a few watts in sleep mode, but not much.
Okay.
It's in a low power mode.
Well, that answers my question.
Yeah, I think you're going to be okay. I don't think you want it to last a few more years, and this is not a sign that it's not. This is just Windows. As I said, 22 years doing this show, that's probably one of the most common questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I never heard of it.
Well, it hasn't been a problem for a while. So I'm feeling a little nostalgic. And the other thing because you hadn't used it online in a couple of years, it means that it is installing a lot of updates. And it may simply be that this is part of its update process. So one thing I would strongly encourage you to do, Lisa, is make sure you've got all those updates, that you keep running Windows Update until it's done.
It went through a million updates.
Yeah, because all of those critical updates you want, because every one of those critical updates is a security flaw in Windows that could let a bad guy commandeer your computer without your permission or knowledge. So it's really important, these old ones especially, because they're well known by hackers. You know what they do? They figure out what these flaws are. They call them exploits because they can exploit you. And they figure out what these exploits are. Often Microsoft helps them by fixing them because that's in effect an announcement saying, ooh, we got a problem. And so they put out a patch and the bad guys go, oh, let's look at that. What did they patch? Okay, because remember, not everybody does the critical updates. So now what they do is they make these kits, and you can buy them online. Bad guys can buy them online, that contain hundreds, sometimes many hundreds of exploits. A lot of them are out of date, you know, and this is why if you update your computer, you don't have to worry so much. But most people don't. That's the fact of it. There are a lot of computers that are, you know, like yours. We're just sitting in a closet for a while. You go online, you forget to run Windows Update. I'm proud of you that you did. And now what it means is every one of those exploits is, you have every one of those vulnerabilities. And as you start surfing the net, you're inevitably going to go to a website. It might even be a legit website. In fact, often is a legit website, but a legit website that's been hacked. So here's the process. Oh, I'll tell you when I come back. It's fun, actually. As long as it doesn't happen to you, it's fun. So you're doing the right thing. Keep running those updates. As long as you got all those updates done, I think you're fine. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You're so vulnerable, Superman. Mick, I would if you weren't in
Have you heard postage rates are changing?
Where are you? Southern Pennsylvania, Southern Ohio. Oh, you're going to be Anderson Cooper on Wednesday. Awesome. By the way, if you are a Screensavers fan, highly encourage you to watch the very last attack of the show as G4 changes format. The last one is January 23rd. So what is that? Wednesday, right? And make sure you stay tuned to the very, very end of the show. Okay, I'm just saying. Watch the whole. You want to see their goodbye. And if you don't get G4, don't worry, because I have a feeling this will be on YouTube. And if you're in Canada, then you'll be able to see it. I don't know, Mo. I don't know, but I think it's worth watching. Yeah, so, hey, Glenn? Is Glenn still here? Did he leave? Hey, Glenn?
Glenn, you know what I would like to do? I would like to put all of the themes on the wiki.
Let's create a theme page on the wiki and see if we can collect all of the show themes and just have them on the wiki. Okay. Maybe album art, whatever. There should be like an assets page on the wiki. Thank you. The fans keep asking for that, and I never get around to doing it. Thank you.
Connection to
You're a wonderful, wonderful human being. He's great. Have you known him for a long time?
Yeah, almost. His family about 25 years.
I've known him since he was 14.
I've known him longer.
Yeah, I know. You win.
Yeah. His youngest brother was my brother's best friend.
Oh, that's neat. I remember his kid brother. Yeah, I used to drive Glenn home. I'd drive him home to the apartment complex over there and drop him off. Yeah, he was writing for the Argus, writing game reviews, and we used to have him on the radio show way back when, and then on the TV show. He's the guy who told me about MP3s. He said, "There's this thing we're all using called MP3s." I said, "Really?" Hey, Glenn, is the video of your rap? Oh, he's still talking to her. Is the video of his rap rap performance on online?
I haven't seen it.
Lisa and I went to see it over at the Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and we just missed him. I'm so sad. It was their return. What was the name of his band? Do you remember?
No.
I'll find it. Headboard history. Let's see if there's founded in 1995 in Petaluma. Rap duo consisting of Glenn Rubenstein and Jeff Gerstmann, who is now Giant Bomb. They've both gone on and done wonderful things. Gerstmann was there, and I'm sad I missed him. Glenn was G-Man. Jeff was U.S. Pipe. Look at all the people who have been through this group. Yeah. Does it ring a bell now? Huh? Where's the video of Headboard's last performance? Is that online?
No, it's on Facebook somewhere.
I would love to see it. We came to see it, and we never did. Oh, you had groupies.
No, those are girls. They were in the band.
No, those are girls. I know they're girls. Oh, they were band members. Awesome. So you got... Oh, that's neat. G-Man. What is this? I don't want this. Whatever I'm seeing. Oh. Oh, G-Man. Looking cool. G-Man. That wasn't even that long ago. Oh, here's Headboard, baby.
That was like 15 years ago.
Oh my God. Let's post that on our Facebook page. That's a good one.
You can upgrade for just $5,000. What?
The universal serial config board should be set to ID 6.
I need that in plain English.
Leo Laporte call for help.
May I help you? That's the old theme song from my long-dead TV show, Call for Help on TechTV. Leo Laporte, but I still, here we are. That show was 98 through 2004. So here I am still answering those questions about computers that won't shut down. I love it. The more things change, the more they remain the same. I could say that in French, but Jim in Seattle, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jim.
Hi there. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I wanted to find out your thoughts on a particular tablet.
Okay.
A friend of mine just recently got an Asus TF300.
Oh, the Transformer, yeah.
And one of the reasons he got it was because it still had connections, especially if you got one of the keyboards.
Right.
So you could still connect things to it. A long time ago, you had suggested, the iPad for being able to transfer files and pictures and things, but he was wondering about things like his camera, his audio recorder, any sound files, and he has a ton of Word files that he wants to be able to transfer with ease. So this Transformer we looked at, and it seemed okay, but everyone was still kind of going for something else, like the iPad, whenever I ask around. So I'd kind of like your thoughts on the Transformer.
Well, this is an Android device, and I like Android a lot.
Okay.
The iPad, is still beating Android in the tablet space, but in fact, I think the Transformers are the best alternate choice. They're a little more expensive than the really cheap. There are cheaper Android tablets, but I think you get what you pay for, frankly.
Yeah, he was, thinking of the iPad, but then he figures if he got the iPad, then all extra accessories would be a lot more expensive. So either way, he's going to be spending a lot more money.
Well, understand that when you're using Android, what you can use is Android apps.
Okay.
When you're using an iPad, what you can use is iPad apps, and that's the biggest difference. There are many, many more tablet apps on the iPad side than there are on the Android side. However, I think there's some really good. I like Android and some good. There's some, you just might run into some stuff that doesn't, work on Android that does work on an iPad, and somewhat vice versa. There are a few things on the other side.
Now, is that running Jelly Bean or Ice Cream Sandwich?
I don't know what they ship that one with, and you certainly would not want to get anything less than Jelly Bean.
Nothing less than Jelly Bean.
Yeah, let me look at the specs on this one. And see, this is an old, I know, they're all desserts. Yeah, this is an older one. It's running Ice Cream Sandwich, which I do not like.
Okay.
You really want to get 4.1 or later, Android 4.1 or later. They made huge strides. 4.0, which it's running, is the first tablet OS that Google released, and it wasn't great. In fact, even Google said, yeah, we kind of rushed this one out.
The TF300 is running 4.0?
It's running 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich.
Can that be upgraded to 4.1 or whatever?
You could, but you'd have to root it, and I'm not sure. But Asus makes other Transformers now that do run Jelly Bean. So this is an older one, that's all.
Oh, he bought it, so that's why I'm curious.
Oh, it's for him.
Yeah, no. He just bought it recently, and I just figured I'd get your thoughts on it too.
I love them. I've recommended them highly. I don't recommend Ice Cream Sandwich, but and by the way, the new processors these days are the quad core Tegra 4 as opposed to the Tegra 3 in there and so forth.
Okay. So if you wanted to upgrade, it's still doable.
Yeah, I mean, what you do is you go to xda-developers.com. They have forums there, and you search for your model, and you find out how to root it and then put a ROM on it. Now, this with phones is pretty straightforward. Yeah. By the way, this is not Honeycomb. I apologize. This is Ice Cream Sandwich, which ain't bad, but Jelly Bean's better.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Honeycomb, which was the first. I got the numbering wrong.
No, I thought it was Ice Cream Sandwich anyway.
It is. It's Ice Cream Sandwich, which is not bad. I mean, that was a big improvement, but But Jelly Bean is really remarkable. I think at this point, Jelly Bean is as good as iOS.
Okay, I'm just waiting for them to come out.
Oh, wait a minute now. I'm looking, and OT Win, our chat room, says the TF300 Jelly Bean update has been released. So you just update it. And if it's not updated yet, it will be soon.
Now, is Android going to come out with a Twinkie?
Oh, yeah. The next one, we don't know. Key Lime Pie would be the next one we think. It's alphabetic.
That's right.
So the first general release, I think, was Cupcake. I don't know what happened to A and B, but Cupcake, and then there was D was, what was D? I don't remember.
Huh.
And then C was, no, Cupcake, I'm sorry. Then D, and then E was Eclair. F was Froyo. G was Gingerbread. H was, I just said it, not hot sauce.
Honeycomb.
Yeah, Honeycomb, that's right, thank you. I was Ice Cream Sandwich. J is Jelly Bean. We thought the next version, 4.2, might be called Key Lime Pie, but it's still Jelly Bean. But I expect the Key Lime Pie or something with a K. Donut, that's right. Cupcake, Donut, Eclair, Froyo, Gingerbread, Honeycomb, Ice Cream Sandwich, Jelly Bean. They're all desserts. And what's great is if you go to Google in Mountain View, California, on the lawn there outside the Android building, they have statues of all those desserts.
Okay. Great. What's that website for the update?
Asus, you'd get it from Asus. Now, if you want to hack it, you do get it from xda-developers.com. But since Asus is pushing out an update, I'd wait.
Okay, great.
And you know, an Ice Cream Sandwich isn't horrible. You're fine until he gets it. So he's got it, but you're going to be his advisor.
Well, you know, I've kind of been his partner in crime in all of this since last year, and I work with computers anyway and such. So you know,
I think he got a great one, and now that I see that they've updated that to a Jelly Bean, I have no negatives on it. That is a nice little tablet. I love it.
And do you know of a deal where, like a teleprompter program that could have a Bluetooth foot pedal? We're musicians, and
oh, what a cool idea! I don't on Android. I'm sure something exists, but you know, that's an example of there's several for the iPad.
Oh yeah, tons.
And I don't know if they have them for Android. The thing is, Android's a little bit still playing catch up, but it's almost fully caught up.
Okay.
Apple, you know, was out earlier, but I have to say Android's taking great strides. Riddler in our chat room says 4score, F-O-R, score. 4score in the Play Store.
Okay.
He's a chatter, so I presume he knows what he's talking about.
I will look into it.
All right, Jim. Hey, thanks so much. Good to talk to you. Yeah, I love these Android tablets. Now, there's some other ones. If you are price sensitive, absolutely look at Google's Nexus 7. That's also built by Asus. Great tablet. And they have a Nexus 10, which is kind of almost unbelievable. It's kind of like a unicorn because you can't find them anywhere. But if you get a Nexus 10, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous tablet with the highest resolution I've ever seen on a tablet. It's higher dots per inch than even the Retina iPad. It's a 1600 by 2560 display. That's 300 pixels per inch. It's unbelievable. And if you could find one of those, that's another nice one. Is it available now in the Play Store? I better order that. They were back ordered for the longest time. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Coming up, by the way, our travel guru, Johnny Jett, will join us, answering some questions from our audience. Using technology to travel better. That's what Johnny's up to, johnnyjet.com. And then more of your calls at 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Okay, Leo, stamps.com, billboard.
Thank you. candy. I do like candy. This portion of the Tech Guy Show brought to you by Stamps.com. Why go to the post office when you could print all the postage you need right from your computer with your printer? No postage meter necessary. Just Stamps.com for our $110 bonus offer. Visit Stamps.com right now. Leo Laporte, use the offer code Tech Guy. The Tech Guy, and here he is, the travel guy, Johnny Jet. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Leo.
We're ready to play the game. So Johnny travels a lot.
Ready?
He's going to take us outside, and we're going to see where Johnny Jet is.
It's a little chilly out.
Okay, it's cold. He's out on a balcony. It looks like a city. It's a big city. It looks like but now it's either but it looked like the Sears Tower over your. Are you in Chicago or New York?
I'm in New York.
In New York, yeah. And as soon as he went outside, Skype failed.
Oh, can you hear me better
Stay
now?
inside. Stay inside.
All right, I'm in.
Hey, that's fun. So you're there for business or pleasure?
I'm speaking at the New York Times travel show tomorrow.
What fun!
Yeah.
We are so lucky to get Johnny Jet on. We started using Johnny Jet on the TV show many moons ago, and not only is he a great guy, there is nobody better on how to use technology to get your travel done, right? If you go to his website, johnnyjet.com, he's got links to all sorts of useful sites that'll help you find the best deals and so forth. And you just published an article, actually not just, but a few months ago published an article I thought it'd be fun to talk about, how to get the best coach seat on an airplane.
That's right, because everyone, they want to get first class, but these days it's tough to get first class, even if you bring a box of chocolates.
It's also, that's because you're trying to use miles or upgrade. But even if you're paying for it, you got to have Donald Trump's bankroll. It's expensive.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I never buy first class tickets, but I'm fine traveling in coach if I'm in an exit row or a bulkhead. And I'm not sure about you, but
as long as there's leg room, you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I need. Leg room, premium economy. So the best ways to get the best coach seat is, number one, obviously, is to get elite status, which usually requires about 25,000 miles, actual miles flown on a specific airline.
So you're saying it's still good to do those frequent flyer programs. They're not a waste of money.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, actually, we were supposed to talk about this week. We'll do it next week now, because there was someone who said that it's a waste of money, waste of time. I totally disagree. I have elite status on 3 airlines, American, Delta, and United. So I'm covered in all 3 alliances. So I can basically get really good perks on about 100 different airlines.
His premise, I think, was more that they never have tickets. For using the frequent flyer miles to buy tickets is tough.
You're not going to get a family of 4 to Hawaii using miles, and that's what everyone wants to do.
Right.
Or to Europe in the summertime.
But if you think of it as a way to get a better seat or an upgrade, it's worth it.
Or saving time. You don't have to wait in long security lines or lines at the airport.
I remember being United executive. It was the best thing in the world. I'm sad I missed those days.
Well, you can bring it back. So just fly 25,000 miles, and you'll get gold status usually, or silver, and they'll give you access to these premium seats, which is the exit row. Everyone wants the exit row or bulkhead.
And when do you get that? Do you do it when you book the flight, or do you do it when you arrive at the airport? How do you get that?
No. You book it as soon as you book your flight. You try and get this. But some airlines like Delta, they won't give you the premium economy seats unless you pay until 24 hours before the flight.
Ooh.
But they still will give you the exit row, which is good.
I do like United has Economy Plus, and I do like the little extra. It's only a few inches.
It's 5 extra inches,
surprising.
and actually 5 inches make a big difference.
I was in Economy Plus going to Australia, and it was okay. And then I wasn't coming back, and I couldn't fold my legs, and it was only 5 inches, but it makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So the trick is, even if you're a frequent flyer, is to always keep on checking if you don't get the seat you want. So, usually around 3 days before, they'll start opening up, because that's when they start upgrading the frequent flyers, and these guys are the ones that already had these seats reserved. So keep checking, and then, I always check almost every hour, but there is a really cool website called expertflyer.com where you can pay 99 cents. Actually, they'll give you 1 seat alert for free, or you can pay 99 cents for each one after that, or you can buy a basic account for like $4.99.
What's a seat alert? What's a seat alert?
So let's say you're crazy like me and you want an exit row or a bulkhead.
Yeah.
You log on and you choose which seat you want, and as soon as it opens up, they'll email you to let you know. And
that's hysterical.
It's awesome, and they have an app for iPhone and Android.
You shouldn't be telling people about this. You should just have told me personally, privately. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
So that's one of the tricks.
Expertflyer.com. Expertflyer.com. All right.
And you got to keep on looking. And then again, you know, I got an extra window one time 24 hours before, but I still wanted an aisle. So the trick is not to print your boarding pass, because once you print your boarding pass, you're locked in.
Oh.
So I just kept checking, and then, you know, 3 hours before the flight, an aisle opened up, exit row aisle. So don't print it up unless you have to.
Especially if you don't have that seat you want.
Yes.
I'm the guy, because you are so good at playing this game, I'm the guy that's stuck in the middle all the time. You got to learn these rules, or people like Johnny Jet are going to eat you alive.
You got to learn the rules. It's a game.
It is a game.
And obviously, you could also pay extra, but some airlines like American, you know, they say that you're going to get a better seat, but you're really not paying for extra legroom. All you're paying is for it to be in the front of the plane.
That's nutty.
It's crazy. For a middle seat, they're going to charge you like $40 sometimes. So you got to make sure that what you're getting is good. And a couple of websites for that is SeatGuru.
Love that site.
And Seat Expert is their competitor. Seat Expert isn't as good as SeatGuru, but they have more airlines, especially lesser-known international airlines.
Are these mostly contributed by users, or I mean, where are they getting the information from?
No, it's not. It's not user-generated.
It's not. They just know what the planes are, and they learn how.
It was one guy in Seattle who came up with SeatGuru, and then it was bought by TripAdvisor.
Hey, what about just brief? So these are two good sites. You'll find all of this, by the way, on Johnny's site. That's the place to go, JohnnyJet.com.
And I'll tweet it out right after this, too.
Or follow him at JohnnyJet on Twitter. Just real quickly before we run, what about this Dreamliner, these recalls?
Man, I just saw that United's not going to start running it till mid-February.
Wow.
It's a nightmare for Boeing, for all the airlines that booked it. I was supposed to be on LOTS, the Polish Airlines inaugural flights from Chicago and New York this past week. And luckily, I turned it down because I didn't want to be on this plane overseas. But they got canceled.
Is this unusual, or is this pretty typical when you have a brand new plane, you got to work out some of the kinks?
You know, I haven't been around that long, but I heard the DC-10 had these problems.
Yeah.
The difference is that back then, they didn't have social media.
We didn't know about it.
These problems are just being exasperated.
The DC-10 ended up being one of the most reliable planes in flight. So it's possible to, you know, work these kinks out. It's just, you know, lithium-ion batteries overheating. It's not devastating yet. But boy, they made such a big deal about this Dreamliner.
It's a beautiful plane.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel safe right now flying overseas until they fix this problem. And I think that's why the FAA grounded it and all these other airlines. But Boeing, you know, Boeing's going to be in trouble for 1 or 2 years now because of it.
Boy, that's tragic. Johnny Jet.
And my last tip, by the way, is to be friendly to the gate agents. So go up to them at the last minute and say, hey, did you upgrade any of these frequent flyers? And if you did, can I get their good coach seat?
That's how these become available.
Yes, that's how they become available. So you got to be friendly, and I always bring them a box of chocolates. And I brought the flight attendants yesterday on the flight to New York a box of chocolates, and they're like buying me food. I'm like, you don't have to do it. I just know how hard you guys work. And so you got to be sincere.
Oh, man. Be sincere. How big a box? Pound?
No, yesterday I just brought them those Hershey Minis.
That's it. They don't require much. They're easily bribed.
Or something.
Just the fact that you care.
They like nice passengers. They get a bunch of jerks.
Can you imagine what a horrible job that is? And not only you get a bunch of jerks, but you're stuck in this tiny compartment with them for hours at a time.
Right.
Horrible.
And actually, on my flight, I just wrote a story yesterday on it. I had a Vietnam vet on there, and the pilot made a huge announcement. Everyone clapped, and when we landed, there were rows of flags at the gate.
Oh, wow.
And a huge welcoming party.
Oh,
it was just,
that is beautiful.
American did a great job on that.
That is beautiful. JohnnyJet.com. You're the best. We'll see you next week, Johnny. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Wow, that's a neat story. A Vietnam vet.
Yeah, a Purple Heart recipient. He got elected to go back. He got selected to go back to Vietnam after 45 years. Wow. And I was sitting next to the captain or standing next to him at the gate, and I heard him talking to this passenger like he was a celebrity.
Well, those guys got such poor treatment when they came home.
I know.
It's kind of nice that it's make up for that a little bit, because it wasn't their fault.
No, of course not.
Not their fault.
They need respect. So I always actually give my upgrade to the soldiers.
Good for you.
Almost always, if I get upgraded and I see a uniformed soldier on the plane, I feel guilty. I got to give it up.
Wow, Johnny, I'm impressed. Very nice.
All frequent flyers should do that because we wouldn't be here without our
I agree.
soldiers.
And that's they're doing a tough job and putting their life on the line for us. Thank you, Johnny.
All right, Leo. Well, I'll see you next week. I'll be at another location. I'll be actually in 2 locations.
Good luck with your talk tomorrow.
Thank you. I need 800 people I'm speaking to.
Awesome.
First time I have such a huge crowd. I've done 500, but never 800.
Not the last time, Johnny. You're on your way, man.
I hope so.
Superstar of travel.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Take care, John. Bye-bye. He is the superstar of travel.
And it works for computer backup just like anything else.
Often they do prioritize soldiers in uniform on those flights.
Connected to the internet.
Isn't that great? Isn't he great? Don't you love him now?
Or your smartphone or tablet.
Well, Raven, the funny thing is I've known him for years. I've known him. He used to do stuff in Canada for us.
Unlimited backup space.
And I just didn't. I wasn't thinking.
Run a small business. Carbonite has plans that'll back up all
I wasn't using my noggin.
servers and external hard drives for a low, flat annual fee. Carbonite. Start your free trial.
But I'm glad I finally. It just he emailed me or something, and I thought, gee, I should really have him on the show.
That's Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Leo. Then sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Oh, they're not allowed to sit in first class in uniform? Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Chris is on, yeah. Chris is still on. He's on Sundays. I can, Dr. Mom. You know who's a biggie on that one is Mark Pelletier, our Futures in Biotech host. But Mark might... No, he was on last week. He's on Sundays. No, it won't, Kevin, because it didn't seem that conclusive. I thought, I expected more fire from Adam. I thought he would, want to really, but he was kind of, Somebody suggested, and they might be right, that the reason that Adam Carolla and How Stuff Works are getting sued is that they have apps. That they're not getting sued because they're podcasters. They're getting sued for their apps, which might make more, to me, makes a lot more sense. But again, I don't, the legalities around patent law are baffling to lay people. But it wasn't as exciting as you might have hoped, Kevin. He was a little distracted, yeah. The IMAX screen is flickering. One side is dark. You mean when I pull it up? That looks good to me. That looks pretty solid to me. I don't... Hello?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, Nod 32 is our library.
All right.
Recognize when we see old glory flying, there's a lot of men dead, so we can sleep in peace at night when we lay down our head. My daddy served in the army, where he lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard till the day that...
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888, ask Leo, 888-827-5536. That's the number. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., still call. Just use Skype out. It won't cost you anything. Randy's in Richmond, Virginia, our next call. Hi, Randy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I feel so lucky to get a hold of you.
It's not easy, I know.
I've been listening to you from back in the TechTV days.
Oh, that's great.
And I love a good computer mystery, but I'm having one here that I can't solve. And
well, I can't promise I could solve it, but I can almost always promise that the chat room, between us all, we can figure out something here.
All right, I've got a Acer Aspire 64-bit 1.5 or an i5 chip with 6 gigabytes of RAM running Windows 7 Home Premium.
Okay.
It ran well for a long time, and then it began to hang at starting Windows.
Yeah.
And I could use the last known good configuration up, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I'd just keep rebooting. Eventually, it would always reboot. Updated the drivers, updated the BIOS, troubleshot with msconfig, deleted the master boot record, reinstalled that, physically took out the hard drive.
It's not that complicated. Your hard drives, did you replace the hard drive?
I did not, but I reformatted it.
Yeah, no, it's probably the hard drive. Yeah, it's probably the hard drive. Well, this is the most common failing in general on computers is the hard drive. It's not, the hard drives are not 100%, eventually they all die. And the way they die is generally not spectacular. It's exactly what you might think, which is that stuff becomes harder to read in certain areas. And I would guess, given that you're able to get it going eventually, that you have some marginal sectors. The other possibility that can also be, and it is more often a problem than people realize, is the power supply.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that.
Power supplies fail as well. And when they fail, often they fail by not giving you enough power or having some issues with startup. These are hard to solve because they're intermittent. They don't happen every time. If something happens every time, you can figure it out. But if it only happens once in a while, it's very hard to get it fixed. You bring it to the shop, and of course, inevitably, it'll work just fine.
Is there a way to troubleshoot the power supply?
Not really. The good news is it's cheap to replace.
Okay.
You could, yeah, there is a way to troubleshoot the power supply if you have a voltmeter and you can measure the voltage from it and so forth. You want to make sure you have consistent voltage. The right test equipment would, of course, work, but you'd spend more on the test equipment than on a new power supply. Much. If you got a good shop, you can go in there and they can check the power coming out of the power supply, make sure it's consistent and sufficient.
Okay, I've beat on it, shook it around, and thought.
Sometimes that fixes things. Sometimes it just makes you feel better.
Now, if it gets to starting Windows, it has passed a bunch of checks already, hasn't it?
Yeah, but that's where starting Windows is where your hard drive issues could come up.
That's where it picks up.
Yeah, once because what that means is okay. All the hardware is going good. I feel great. Now let's try to load Windows in, okay. And then it starts to read that sector, and it's going So the good news is, well, there's bad news and there's good news. Bad news is it might be hard to test. The good news is both hard drives and power supplies are relatively inexpensive parts to replace. They also tend to be the parts that fail the most.
Okay. I'll replace them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Randy. That's where, I wish, almost always people who call this show would benefit greatly by a reliable, affordable shop that you could bring this into, and the person would be trustworthy and reliable. Go, let me just put this on the tester and say, yep, you need a new power supply. I have one in the back here, and go and put it in. These things do not exist. And I don't know if it's because it's such a bad business. I think it seems like it would be a good business, but I don't know why. The same thing with cars, right? You got to the point where you could not fix a car unless you were the dealer and you had all the equipment because they just became fancy computers, and maybe that's the problem. But it'd be great to have in every town just some shade tree mechanic type, a guy who just loves this stuff, knows this stuff, has lots of experience, has all the equipment to test it, has spin right and all the hard drive maintenance stuff, and you just bring it in, and he says, yeah, I'll have it for you in an hour and a half. That'll be $85. That would be great. But in most cases, it does not exist. Or you have to go to a big computer store, and really they're there to sell you more stuff. They're there to sell you hardware. I think probably part of this is because so many people have had bad experiences with shops, right? Where you have an incompetent. I hear a lot about that too. Eric in Simi Valley, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Eric.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So good to talk to you.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks.
You are our shade tree mechanic.
I think somebody made a point in the chat room which is very good. When you pay $250 for a computer, it's just cheaper to throw it out. And the price on computers has gotten so low now that why fix it?
Yep, that's true.
It bothers me, bothers the Scot in me, But why fix it?
Moore's Law.
Yeah, it's just cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yep.
What can I do for you?
Well, I have a Dell Studio 1745 laptop.
Nice laptop. I got a 16 and I loved it.
Yeah, I love the bigger display.
Yep.
So I went with the 17.
Yep.
I play a popular online, multiplayer MMORPG.
Mm-hmm.
And after maybe about an hour, my frame rates tank to like 1 to 2 frames per second.
Yeah, it's overheating, right?
That's what I thought, but I toggle over to a task manager and look at performance, and my CPU usage goes up to 100%.
People call often saying, hey, I don't understand, my memory is 100% or my CPU is 100%. That's what the computer's kind of made to do. That doesn't mean, was it not 100% before the slowdown?
No, my CPU usage goes, it runs usually like around 35 to 50%.
While you're playing the game at high frame rates and everything?
Right.
Huh.
Now, 'cause usually I get like 75 to 125 frame rates.
It just sounds like overheating because it's an hour. Now, it could be that there's a memory leak in some software. What's the game you're playing?
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's not a very demanding game. So, that's why it can do it with 33% CPU. But saying a CPU is 100% is not, especially with the modern Intel SpeedStep CPUs, that's not necessarily related. I would guess much more likely there's two possibilities. One is overheating. Anytime a computer starts to go bad after a period of time, especially playing a game, heat is always the first thing I'd look at. The other could be a video driver that had a memory leak. So what that means is that it uses more and more memory over time, and at some point, some magic point, like an hour in, it's used so much memory it can no longer perform efficiently. Does rebooting fix it?
No, it doesn't.
Rebooting does not fix it.
No.
Turning it off and leaving it for a while and then coming back to it fixes it.
Yeah. So your heating issue might be a
sounds like heat
problem.
Yeah, I would. It's a laptop, so this is a little hard to do. But I would make sure the fans are working. Does it start to feel hot?
Yeah, the problem with that laptop I've noticed is that there's obviously no way to control the fan speed.
Yeah, no, that's supposed to all be done in the software and by the operating system.
When I'm heavily in play, I wouldn't mind that fan kicking on.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, try you can get laptop coolers. They're on eBay for $10. They're USB devices with fans in them that you put underneath the laptop. They're like a little stand and it blows air at it. Might help.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, try that. If that helps, then it is heating. I would also, always, and this is true when you play games anyway, always make sure you have the latest driver. So I would, you probably won't be getting that from Dell. You might start at Dell and get all the drivers for that particular notebook, but then you might also look at what's the video subsystem and so forth, and you might want to go to the manufacturer of the video subsystem, NVIDIA or whoever, and see if they have a different driver. Upgrade Express says we deal with this all the time. Set your control panel max CPU to 80%. In other words, just keep it from going too fast. Huh. Or turn the frame rate down. You don't need more than 70 or 80%. 80 frames per second, right? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's the Grog Show, featuring Grog Burnett and his brother Grog. I like this studio here. I like all the people who work here. It's fun, isn't it? Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. At 8888 Ask Leo, talking about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all that jazz. Cassandra is visiting from Queens, brought me a memory Wow, I grew. Can you just throw me that Instamatic? This is a Kodak Instamatic 154 camera. Kodak sold these in the late 60s, and I was a kid. This was, I think, probably my first camera. I was a kid when these came out. Boy, I remember these well. And I see it has the, I was saying, do you remember the flash cube? See, it has the little attachment. You put a cube on there, you take one picture, go, it would turn, and then you could have 4 flashes. That was a big improvement. In the old days, you had to pop out the bulb, put a new one in each time. We've come a long way. The Kodak Instamatic camera. Oh, is there film in it? Oh, good, because I just took a picture. Yeah, I wish I could find some flash cubes. They've all probably been used. It's a shame, you know, what happened to Kodak. Kodak's an interesting, I think, morality tale for anybody in the digital era. They knew digital was coming. You know, they had a very good camera business, a very good film and developing business. They were the kings, weren't they? Eastman, Kodak, you know, they were the kings. But they saw digital coming in the early 2000s, maybe even in the late 90s, and they had a digital strategy. They went out and acquired a company called OPhoto, which was an online photo sharing and printing service. They made digital cameras. They made very good ones. I recommended Kodak Digital for a long time because they were easy to use. They went after the low-end, normal user market with cameras that were good quality but inexpensive and very easy to use and had great sharing features. Remember Easy Share? They did everything right. And they still went bankrupt. And it's an important morality tale. Not every business can go digital. The reason they went bankrupt is the business was built around the high margins, the big profits they made off of developing and printing. That turned out, I didn't know it at the time, but that was they were making a lot of money on that. And they couldn't make the same kind of money on digital prints, on digital cameras. The margins weren't there. So even though they had success online and in the digital universe, it wasn't sufficient to sustain the company, a company built on the much higher profit margins of film photography. And I think it shows, you know, that it's not enough just to see the digital coming or even to reinvent yourself. Not all businesses can make that conversion. Web2994 in the chat room says, good example, case in point. Remember Digital Equipment Corporation? Maybe you don't know that name. They were a premier manufacturer of mini computers. They were the kings. DEC. If you had a PDP, you had a DEC. Those were hot computers in the 60s. The problem is, and they even saw the microcomputer revolution coming, but they couldn't move quickly enough. They couldn't redesign. They couldn't retool. They couldn't become a success in a micro world. The VAX, remember that? We've seen it happen time and time again. And sometimes, you know, the pundits said, well, if they'd only known, if the railroads had only realized they were in the transportation business, they could have survived trucking. Not necessarily. If you've got a lot of rails and a lot of boxcars, you know, you really are in the railroad business. Got bad news for you. Manny in Mount Carmel, or Carmel, Pennsylvania. Manny, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Manny.
Hi, Leo. Top of the day. Thanks for taking my call.
Well, the rest of the day to you, sir.
Quick question and a quick thank you note. Question on, I have a Galaxy 3 phone.
Excellent phone. Well, it's still probably the best phone out there. Really great phone.
Yeah, it's my first smartphone, so I'm
nice
still
choice.
learning from it.
Well done.
The Wi-Fi on it, how can I keep it off? Because periodically it'll come back on after I lay it down for an hour, half hour, or whatever. And I'll go back to the top and notice that it comes back on its own.
Yeah. Well, you could disable it completely, and that's you don't want to have it ever, or you just don't want to have it sometime?
Just sometimes.
If you go into settings on Android, this is an Android phone, and if you go into settings on the Android phone, at the very top of the settings, you'll see Wi-Fi. There's just an on-off switch. If you turn that off, that is not going to turn itself on. You will have to manually turn that back. Wait a minute, it just turned itself back on. Wait a minute. This will not turn itself back on. You will have to manually. Now I got to watch this. It turned itself back on. No, maybe that was just my mistake. I must have tapped it. Yeah, once you turn that switch from 1 to 0, then it should not turn Wi-Fi on. And this is actually a good strategy. You know, people often mess around trying to get better battery life. Wi-Fi actually uses less battery than 3G or 4G. But there are times when you just don't want to use it or you don't want it seeking a Wi-Fi signal. So turning it off can actually save battery life. If you're not going to join Wi-Fi, you're probably right, you should turn it off. Similarly, if you're not going to be using Bluetooth, turn that off. Radios use more power than almost anything on the computer. In fact, it's a really good idea to look at the battery item in the settings, because it'll show you what's using memory, and that's very valuable. You know, the screen you can't do much about except maybe have it go to sleep sooner.
Right.
But if you see Wi-Fi or the radio's using a lot of juice, that's a good idea. Yeah. So it's in the settings. If you turn it off, it should not come back on.
Okay. All right. I'll try that.
All right.
And I just wanted to also thank you for several months ago I talked to you about using the Linux system, and I installed it on my Windows machine, a different partition, and I've loved it.
Good.
Yeah, I really do like it. It's simple, and it turns me into a bit of a gearhead because there's some things that I have to manually type in. But
not a bad thing. I think, especially for kids, a good time to expose them to other operating systems is when you're high school or even a middle school kid. Say, hey, you should take a look at Linux, because it does teach you a lot about how things work, and I think it's a valuable exercise. But Linux also is great because it's free, it's secure, it's very capable. I'm a big fan, and I wish I could get more people interested in it. So I'm glad you tried it, Manny. You have an open mind.
Well, I do thank you again.
My pleasure.
And I'll keep using it.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, you can get a copy of Linux from a lot of places. The best place probably to go is Ubuntu, UBUNTU.com, and download a free copy of their operating system. It's very good, and they've really made some advances in it. Every year for the last 5 to 10 years, we've been saying, this is going to be the year of desktop Linux. This is going to be the year Linux takes off, and every year we're wrong. Linux has already taken off, though. You use it, you may not know it, but you're probably using it every single day of your life. For one thing, most of the web uses Linux. Most servers are running on Linux. It's very reliable. I earlier mentioned those network-attached storage devices. If you have one of those central hard drives, those almost always are running on a Linux. Even my big screen TV runs Linux, because it's a free open operating system. And by the way, that Galaxy S3 that Manny was using, that runs Linux as well. Almost all Android phones, many are all running on Linux with an Android shell on top of it, Dalvik. So Linux is probably in your life in many, many ways, and you just don't know it. But we keep saying, when's it going to take off on the desktop? When's it going to achieve appreciable market share compared to OS X and Windows? And I don't know. I think it's absolutely capable enough to do so. But people seem pretty happy with what they got. Tony is trucking somewhere in Kentucky. Hi, Tony. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I don't understand streaming.
I'll explain streaming in just a bit, but we got to take a break. The commercials are going to stream into your head here for a moment, and then when we come back, we'll talk. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're going to take a break here, but for those of you watching the podcast, we have on the podcast we have a couple of advertisers, and I really am grateful to them because they make these podcasts possible. They let us pay for the editing and the recording and all of that stuff. And Ring Central, gosh, I feel like I owe them a big debt, because when we first built our beautiful new studios, you know, the Brick House Studios here, I realized we were going to have a staff. We have about 25 people working here. In the old cottage, I just said, no, there's no phone here. I had a phone line and a cordless phone, and it was small enough we could run around. That's the phone. You don't get a phone on your desk. You want to use a phone on your desk, use your cell phone. That was not going to work here. I realized, now I actually have a business. So we got business phones from Ring Central, and I'm very happy. I didn't get, I could have gone, called the phone company, and they put a big switch in your basement, PBX in your basement, and it's very expensive. You got to lease it, and it's complicated, and somebody's got to figure out how to program it. And the whole thing was just too much. I didn't want to do that. I knew we had to do something more modern. And my IT guy, Russell, who's a brilliant guy, he's a contract IT guy from Exponentia. We don't own him. I wish we did, but we couldn't afford him. But he said, well, what I've installed with other clients, and you might want to look at it, is RingCentral. It's a cloud-based phone system. Does all the things that a more elaborate PBX system could do, but it does it in the cloud. It's great if you have multiple offices, which we don't have that. But it's also great if you have tech-savvy users that want to use their cell phone, for instance. They can. There's RingCentral apps for your iPhone and Android phone. When my producers want to make a call at home from their cell phone, when Chad wants to, for instance, make a phone call to book somebody for a show, he can do it from his cell phone using the RingCentral app, so he doesn't have to pay for it. The incoming number to the call, the person he's calling, appears to be our office number, our 800 number. We've got a phone tree and all that stuff, and it's as little as $20 per user per month. I want you to try it. If you obviously not everybody needs RingCentral. If you're at home, you don't need RingCentral. But if you want an office that has a really 21st century phone system, voicemails in the email, faxes in your email. We have a fax, automatic fax translation. Great billing, simple structure, great maintenance. I want you to try RingCentral. Visit ringcentral.com. They have a free trial. Click that free trial button. Use the offer code TWIT. And, by the way, when you buy one phone, you'll get a second phone free, up to 20 phones. That is a great deal. Don't call this number here, though, on the website. Call our special number just for our listeners, 800-543-9980. 800-543-9980. ringcentral.com. They're coming up. We're going to visit with them in the studio, I think next week or the week after. Just really like the people at RingCentral, and I am really pleased with our RingCentral stuff. We got Polycoms, and we got a bunch of different kinds. So you know what I got for the desks of people is just it looks like a cordless phone. It is a cordless phone. It's a little stand with a little phone instead of a big desk phone. Yeah, Jammer B's going to bring it over to me. You guys like these, right? Because they're compact, they're portable, they do everything that the big desk phone will do, but it just doesn't take up a lot of space. And I know a lot of our people like to walk around when they're talking. So Chad will get up and he'll be on the phone. He can walk around. It's really nice. It really kind of looks like a cell phone. Anyway, we love these phones.
Don't you worry now.
Leo Laporte. Bye, Cassandra. Thank you for visiting. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. That's the phone number. Tony, trucking in Kentucky, is now a little farther down the road. Thanks for being patient, Tony.
Hey, not a problem. I think I was streaming on one of the network's websites. It's been a while back, and it kept stopping every few seconds, and I think somebody said that was buffering.
They call it buffering, yeah.
And, I was wanting to know what to do.
I'll explain what happens there. It's actually a very good question. It's a good thing to know. So when you are going to a website or getting email, it's not, you're just looking at static pages. It doesn't really matter if some of it comes in faster than other parts or it even comes out of order. The web browser just builds it in order. The email package just puts it all together. But if you're listening to like this radio show, it's kind of important that it come in order, right? So all the data in the audio you listen to is in packets, little bundles. A stream sounds like it's a continuous flow. It's not. It's individual bundles, small byte packages of data coming in, and they often, thanks to the way the internet works, arrive out of order. The internet routes, so one packet might go north to south. It's like, okay, perfect for trucker. Like one packet's taking Highway 80. And the other one's going down Route 66. They'll get to the same place, but may not get there in the right order. Or sometimes a packet gets lost. It decides that it wants to take a detour to the Boulder Dam and never arrives at all. So you've got to deal with that somehow in streaming so that it sounds like this. It sounds like a normal flow of content. So really, streaming is not exactly what's happening. It's you're downloading data and playing it back, but you don't do it in real time. What you do is you get ahead. This is the clever solution. Early days they came up with this. If you buffer, if you go 30, so that's why when you start a stream, there's a delay. What it's doing is it's buffering. It's capturing packets right away. As soon as you press play, it's capturing data, but it doesn't start playing it until it has a certain amount, typically 10, 15, as much as 30 seconds of data, and then it starts playing. And what will happen is if something doesn't arrive or arrives late or arrives out of order, that's cool. It's going to take a little bit out of the buffer. It's going to take a chunk out of the buffer, but then it will kind of continue to build up the buffer over time. If the entire buffer gets used up, let's say, tons of stuff comes out of order, it doesn't show up, 30 seconds worth, well, now you've run out of the packets you got ahead of time. You've got no buffer. And what will happen is the streaming software on your end will say, all right, well, I got to rebuild my buffer. Hold on. I'm rebuffering. I'm rebuilding those packets so that I can give you a smooth stream. Otherwise, the stream would start and stop, start and stop, start and stop all the time. Now, if your bandwidth is insufficient for the stream you're listening to, let's say you're listening to a 128 kilobit stream and you only have 64K down, you're going to buffer all the time. You can't get ahead. It'll download 30 seconds, play 30 seconds, and then say, well, I don't have any more, and wait for 30 seconds while it downloads some more. That's probably what's happening to you. You're listening to something that has more data than you have bandwidth.
Is there a way to say, like, I want to watch it maybe a couple hours later?
Then you don't want to stream, you want to download.
Download, okay.
That's the difference. A download it's just like a web page or email. It doesn't matter if it arrives out of order or late. It just keeps going until it's got all the packets it needs. It assembles them in the right order and saves them to your hard drive. Now there's no buffering at all because you've got it all. Okay. The other way to handle buffering is to have more bandwidth or to listen to a lower or watch a lower quality stream. So if you're on YouTube and YouTube's stopping a lot, then just go to a lower quality and it won't have to stop as much.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
A little bit. How do you download versus streaming?
Well, that's going to be dependent on what you're looking at. For instance, you cannot download from YouTube directly. There are some sites like YouTube Downloader that will allow you to do that. If you go to YouTubeDownloaderHD.com, is it YouTube you want to download?
No, sir. I'm more interested in movies, networks, watching shows that have come on the network.
Yeah, they may not. So if you're watching, let's say, Hulu, which is a streaming service offered by some of the networks, they don't offer download because they're terrified of piracy.
Okay.
So you're out of luck.
That was one of the ones I was looking at, Hulu and Netflix.
Yeah, same thing. One of the reasons the movie companies like Netflix streaming is because you can't steal it.
Right.
Now, you can always, if you've got something coming into your computer, you can always record it. But not with the normal software, not with Hulu, your browser, or Netflix software. So if you're getting a lot of buffering on Netflix, then Netflix is supposed to adjust it. There are ways around it. There are programs like VLC that will let you record a stream that you're watching. It just depends what you're using. Let me ask the chat room. Can you use VLC with Hulu, for instance? The problem is you'd need the endpoint address, and Hulu doesn't tell you what that is.
Right. Well, that's my biggest thing was the like I said, Netflix or Hulu Plus.
Yeah, they actively discourage and, in fact, use technical means to prevent you from doing that because they're afraid that what you'll do is record that movie and then give it to your friends.
Okay. So what is Roku? I think I heard you a month or so back talking about Roku 2.
Yeah, I like Roku. That's just...
I actually saw that in Sam's Club the other day.
Love the Roku. That hooks up to a TV and to your internet. It's basically a way to internet enable a TV.
Oh, okay.
And that gives you Netflix, it gives you Hulu, but it gives you about 1,000 other stations as well. It's like Apple TV. It's like the Boxy Box. There's a lot of devices that do this. Roku's one of my favorite. You will have to circumvent, my chat room says, and I think this makes sense, you will have to circumvent copy protection for both Hulu and Netflix because they don't want you to do this. But there is, if you go to videoland.org, and I'll tell you what, I will put this link in the show notes at Tech Guy Labs. James, if you'd put this link in here. Getting VLC to play Hulu. There is a way to do it. VLC is a free program from videoland.org. It's designed to play back video input, some streaming as well as downloaded. It's great. Everyone who uses a Mac or PC should have a copy of VLC on their hard drive just because there's stuff it'll play nothing else can. But apparently it is possible, I did not know this, to get VLC to play Hulu. If you can get it to play, then you can record because VLC record anything it's streaming. The truth is, if you're trying to stream Netflix or Hulu on a connection that's just not fast enough, you just either need a better connection or give up, in my opinion. Our show is brought to you today by our... Oh, I'm going to run out of time. I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. And then I'll talk about ESET, the world's best antivirus. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this.
32.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. This portion of the Tech Guy Show brought to you by Carbonite.com. It's back up, done, right. Visit Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Leo right now and save yourself a little bit. Do it free for 14 days. You get 14 months for the price of 12 when you buy. Carbonite.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's talk a little bit. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll take another call, then we'll talk a little bit about the best little antivirus in the world. But first, Lawrence in Palmdale, California. Hi, Lawrence. Leo Laporte here.
Leo, my oldest and best friend.
Thank you.
So, some documents that I created maybe in 2005, and I saved them on my Power Mac G4 that I had at the time.
Uh-oh.
I got them on my current iMac.
I think I know where we're going here.
And so when I double-click on them, they, of course, don't want to open.
Nothing happens.
One says it's saved as a Unix file, which, of course, I didn't do.
Now, do you know what the program was that you created them with?
Well, it might have been MacDraw or something.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Yeah, or, it could have been a CAD program that I had at the time, but it no longer works on...
right. We actually had a caller last week that had some files he created in a drawing program on his old Power PC Mac, and there was nothing equivalent on a modern Mac, and of course you can't run the old Power PC software. Now, he had one advantage, which is he knew what the original program was. I'll tell you what I told him. There is a good program that you could try called Graphics Converter that does read a great many older Mac file formats. It's from Lemke Software, Lemke soft.com. And it's a modern program that can convert and open older programs files. But you don't know if you knew what the format was, you could try and go out and find a converter for that particular format. But this is your best bet since you don't know. It handles 200 different file formats. So, and some of which, they're all old Mac formats. Some of which might be, one of which might be the one you need.
Yeah. So one more, if I can, or say this a different way, it wants to open them in something called Bridge CS3.
Yeah, that's from Adobe Photoshop.
Oh.
But that's just a generic response from the Mac. That doesn't mean that would even open in that.
I have a Photoshop copy of something like...
You must, because it wouldn't know about it if you didn't.
CS3 wouldn't know about it if I did?
No, the Apple wouldn't know. The Mac wouldn't know about it. So the way it works, on Windows, it's a file extension. It's the last 3 letters of the file name. On the Macintosh, it's a little more obscure. They hide it away inside the file itself.
Yeah.
And so you need to figure out what that file format is. There is a command, a shell command called file, that will give you information about the file.
Yeah.
So you can open the shell and then type file and the name of the file. You have to get it exactly right, what folder it's in and everything. If you do that, it might be able to tell you what program created it. Well, what it'll give you is a 4-letter code for that program, which you could then, you want to see the creator and the type. So actually what you need to do is file, space, -- Apple, and that says, and then the name of the file, and that says, tell me the creator and the type for this file. And then that output is going to be 2 4-character strings separated by a slash. And then you Google that, and it'll say, oh, yes, that was created by. Now, that may or may not help you.
Yeah.
But you'll run terminal, file, space, -- Apple, space, the name of the file. That'll at least give you the information you want about who made this file.
And that'll be in the show notes?
Yeah, because that was a little complicated. I don't know if even James is going to get that one, but I'll help him out. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so, heaven help us and try graphics converter.
The nice thing about graphics converter, it'll just do the best it can. Now, if you so what the Mac is doing is looking at that creator and type and saying, what does he have on here that could conceivably open it? And it comes up with Adobe Photoshop Bridge. If you ever installed Photoshop, that's why it would come up with that. It doesn't guarantee you that will work.
I see. So these are little drawing programs I made of a house that I was building at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so I can see what I think is a thumbnail.
Yeah, the icon thumbnail's probably still there. That's created. Yeah, you might have, who knows what you used. But did you try opening it in Bridge? Did anything come of that?
Well, it tries to open them up in Bridge. When I double-click on them, just like these were drawings that I made shrink to fit so I could print them on your inkjet printer.
Yeah, what does Bridge do with it?
Well, it shows them as a thumbnail icon. It calls it content.
Oh, okay. It's not interpreting. It's not interpreting it properly.
No, it's not, because when I double-click on it, it says it's a binary document. The file name's plot plan, and it was created in 02.
Yeah.
File size is 29 kilobytes, but it doesn't say what
I would look. So yeah, graphics converter may well do it, but you want to do some detective work. Use the file command from terminal, and figure out what you're looking for. Is you want to know what the name of the file type and the file creator is. The creator is the program that created it. In the early days of Macintosh, every application had a 4-letter code. Its creator code, and then because applications can often create multiple types, it would have a 4-letter type code that would tell you what file type it was: doc, docx, img, whatever. So that's what you're trying to find. If you get that information, then you could do a search on that creator and file type, and you could very likely find a program that'll do it. Although none does more than Lemkesoft's graphic converter. That's pretty impressive program. It's been around for a long time because this is not an unusual problem. Valerie in Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Thanks for your patience.
It's so nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Can you hear me?
I do.
Okay. I have a question on my new iPad. I'm using my Mac Mini's internal airport card for my Wi-Fi connection.
Okay.
Internet connection to the iPad.
Okay.
But it's very slow to load websites.
All right, hang on a second. We've been holding a long time, but hang on a little bit longer. We got to take a break, and I'll come right back to you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Whoa, 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 low, 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 low.
Have you heard postage rates are changing again?
Come over here. Lisa has an urgent message for you all.
That's why I use stamps.
An urgent message for everybody. You want me to do it? We are looking. This is a very rare opportunity for a lead engineer here at the Twit Brick House. My CEO and HR.
We need a fabulous engineer that can work
well with
people.
See this stack she's holding? Those are all resumes. There's actually a lot more. But we haven't found exactly the right person.
It's still open. I need a lead digital engineer, possibly somebody we can groom for a CTO.
You might be. Wouldn't you love that on your resume? I am the CTO of Twit. You could have that. We'll make you a business card, and we'll even pay you a salary and excellent benefits.
I want someone who has not only been a consultant, but who has had to work for someone too.
Yeah. A lot of the job is managing the other engineers. It would be great to have experience in a wide range of technologies, including video, streaming, web, networking. But you won't be so much an on-the-ground person as somebody managing engineers who handle all of that. You'll also do some relationship building with our partners. We want somebody who really is creative and forward-thinking and can grow with our company and really bring us new ideas and new ways of doing stuff to keep us, on the cutting edge. You would have to live in Petaluma or near Petaluma. We could help you relocate, and you'd what? And you'd have to work for Lisa, not me. I'm never here. We're looking for a neckbeard herder. That's exactly right. And yeah, well, that would be a good example. So a really good person would be somebody who could find a replacement for Skype for us. Email jobs@twit.tv. Yes, you have to have experience.
If you don't have experience, don't write me.
Please, if you just get out of college, we can't hire you. But it would be good. You don't have to have this exact experience, but that you hear what I'm looking for. Somebody who can manage people, who's organized, who can get the job done in sometimes challenging environment, who loves a challenge. It's a good job. We pay well and we give you great benefits. But it would have to be somebody who has some experience, especially in web, streaming, video, audio. You know what we do, networking. But things like you wouldn't be designing our website. You would run the team that designs our website and interface that team to Lisa and me. Larry Page, you're hired. Yes, it's a six-figure job, low six figures. Not $999,000. It may be. It depends on the person. It'll be appropriate pay for your capabilities, obviously. Yeah, or jobs at twit.tv. Colleen has left Google and taken a job as a partner at a new startup. Yes, two of the figures are after the decimal. Yeah, a lot of it is, this is a tough position to fill. This is here's Mick. Mick sent us his business card. Mick, you're hired. Oh no.
Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon.
Carbonite your last life.
Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes. Bacon
pancakes. Kyle Benham. Blame Kyle Benham. And pancakes. We're talking, coming up in the GizWiz in just a bit, our gadget guru, Dick DiBartolo, Mad's maddest writer, but we're talking to Valerie. And she's using, okay, let me recap, Valerie, see if I understand it. You're using the Wi-Fi on your laptop.
No, on my Mac Mini.
On your Mini, okay. And you're sharing that with your iPad?
Yes.
Okay. And it's a Wi-Fi only iPad? I guess that's not germane. It doesn't matter. So your problem is that it's slow.
It's slow to load websites.
Oh, that's interesting.
I get 3 bars on the little icon on the the.
Well, the fewer bars you get, anything less than 5 bars is going to reduce the speed. So if you're standing next to the Mac Mini, you should get 5 bars.
No, I'm getting 3.
Even when you're standing next to it.
Yes.
You have updated your iPad, right?
Yes.
Because there have been updates for the iPad, recent updates, in fact.
I just got mine at Christmas time.
Oh, good.
So
Make sure you update it, though. There have been some updates lately that improve Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking on the iPad, and actually there are only 3 bars, so you're getting the full load.
Yeah.
I thought there were more for some reason, but there's only.
I'm wondering if my DSL connection speed is too slow.
Well, do you you have the same problem when you surf on the Mini, or do you ever use the Mini's internet?
Oh, I use it all the time.
Is it as slow?
No.
Yeah, it's probably something to do with the relationship between, the connection between your Mini and your iPad. iPads are kind of notorious for Wi-Fi issues. Once the page loads, is it fine? Can you stream video and stuff like that? Is it a speed issue, or is it just a DNS issue? In other words, is it just getting to that page? Once it's loaded, is it all right?
It seems to be all right once I get.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And I tried it on my son. My son has Airport Extreme.
Is it faster?
And it works fine over there.
Okay, so it is some sort of configuration issue. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't really know, from afar what I could do to make that work better. You would get certainly better results if instead of using the Mini, you got. In fact, this would probably be the best solution. Don't use the Mini. Go out and get a router, a Wi-Fi router.
Okay, then I was thinking if I got, say, an Airport Express.
Yeah, that would work.
Would I still get the same problem?
I don't think you would.
Okay.
I really think it's the way you're doing internet connection sharing is not as fast as using a router.
Oh.
And you could get a cheap router. You don't even have to get an airport. You could get a cheap Linksys Wi-Fi router. And what you'll do is you'll connect the Mini as you have been wired, but you then would connect the iPad via wireless. I think you'd get better results.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
That's all I needed to know.
Good, Valerie. Thank you.
Much.
Great to talk to you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dick D. Bartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer and the Gizwiz. Hello, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing?
I am well indeed.
Good.
How is things at Disneyland?
Things are very good. Myra is here.
Well, golly, I'm relieved to hear that. A day without Myra is like a day without sunshine.
Yeah, I know. I had a guest from the Ukraine run in, give me a box of chocolates, and leave.
Oh, wow. That's
the perfect guest.
He must have been on the run.
Yeah.
So what do you got for us, gadget?
Well, you know what? I'm talking about this now, even though it's not available, because at the end of the month, you know that the special deal on getting Windows 8 ends on January 31st.
They might extend that. Windows 8 is not like selling like hotcakes or anything.
No, I know. I think they probably will. Yeah. But just so it sounds more relevant, we're pretending that they are.
They might not. They might not.
They might not.
You never know.
Might not.
Yeah.
So Targus is introducing. So you have Windows 8, and now you say, oh, I wish I had a laptop with a touch screen, but I don't.
Yes.
So the Targus, this is new. It's the Targus touchpad for Windows 8 device.
Oh, so it's like Apple's Magic Trackpad.
Yeah, well,
Windows.
this one, I don't know the trackpad because I don't have any Apple products, but this clamps on to the side of your laptop, any laptop up to 17 inches, and then it plugs into a USB port. And then the digital pen looks like a pen when you hold it, but the tip is more like a paintbrush. It has a very gentle brush at the end so you don't distort or harm any screen. And suddenly your laptop is now a touch screen. So you can move the icons around. I got to play with this at the Digital Experience. You move the icons around. You can actually paint on the screen with it. In the Paint program. So it's a cheapy, well, I don't know if you call it cheapy.
I don't understand. Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
you're saying you clamp something on the side of the thing, and now are you touching the screen?
Yeah, it makes any screen into a touch screen.
How could that even work?
The little, I think it's magic.
Oh,
the little.
So it's got a little camera or something in that
No,
thing?
it has the little receiver locks onto the frame of your laptop.
Yeah.
You hit calibrate. You touch the little paintbrush thing into the four corners, and then a little icon says, "I now know
man,
where."
I want to try. This doesn't even seem possible.
Well, it is. It is.
How I don't. But so it's not a touch screen. You just clamped something onto it, and it's somehow watching the pen. Obviously, it doesn't have any pressure sensor. It must be a camera in there.
It must be a camera. Yeah, stupidly, I did not ask how it does it because she just said it.
Now,
yeah,
did you? And you played with it, and it worked pretty well.
I did. You can run, and just to fool it, you try it with your finger, and the screen just says. Why are you touching me?
You have to use a pen.
Yeah,
okay.
But then when you put that little pen on there, it goes, "Oh, I recognize you.
Must
For
be
you,
magnetic,
I'll move around."
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be $99.99 coming in the spring. I'm sure once it gets in distribution, it'll drop quickly. But it's called the Targus Touch Pen for Windows 8.
That is really neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Well, I'm glad you brought that along. Now, if you go to gizwiz.biz, Dick has notes there about this product and all the other cool gadgets that he brings to us every week. But you'll also, don't go to gizwiz.com. No, that's not it. Go to No, it's gizwiz.biz, believe it or not. And you'll be in business. And he also has the great What the Heck Is It contest, a chance for you to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. And all you have to do is figure out what the heck that is. I don't know what it looks like. Oh, I know what it is. It's a badminton birdie. That's not hard. That's not even a gadget. That's badminton. Anybody would know what that. So here's the deal. There's 12 autographed copies of Mad Magazine for the right answer. There's 24 for cute, silly answers. So don't get it right is the answer. Thank you, Dickie D.
Thank you, sir.
Dick's going to stick around. We'll do the Giz Fizz right after the radio show ends on most of these same internet stations. Twit.tv. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.